With that, Mauricio, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Vizcarra?
Here.
Commissioner Lama?
Here.
Commissioner Goldman?
Here.
Vice Mayor Svechin?
Here.
Mayor Scholl?
Here.
All members present.
Okay. If you have a flag in your room, we're going to try to keep it as normal as possible. So I'm going to say the pledge, but tonight you don't have to stand. How's that? If I stood, you're going to see that I'm in shorts. So I'm having our commission meeting in shorts tonight. If we all just put our right hand over our heart, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And if we could ask Chief Schneider, he's going to say our invocation tonight.
Go ahead, Chief. Just unmute yourself.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, good evening, everybody. Let us bow our heads in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, during these trying and stressful times of pandemic and social unrest around our country, please pray for all of us as a nation and a worldwide community. I ask that you heal the wounds of racial division and bring us to a place where meaningful conversation can build the bridges to bring all races and creeds together as one family of man and one community built on respect, dignity, and tolerance. We also pray for our nation and the entire world to stay healthy during this COVID pandemic and pray for a speedy recovery for all those who are affected by this terrible disease, and especially for those who have passed away as a result. We ask a special prayer for all of the first responders who are on the front line fighting this disease for good health and a continued drive to help all those in need of assistance. We ask this in your heavenly name, and let us all say amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chief. Okay, we've got 3 sets of minutes to approve. We've got the regular City Commission meeting from February 20th. Do I hear a motion to approve item 3A, those minutes?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We've got the emergency commission meeting minutes from March 12th. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And then we have our virtual commission meeting from April 16th, 2020. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the 3 sets of minutes are approved. I'm going to read my opening statement and we're going to move on to order of business. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you for joining us tonight. Please ensure that your microphone is muted to avoid interrupting the proceedings tonight. Individuals who want to speak on any item on the agenda are asked to use the raised hand function, which can be located by these following steps. If you're using an iPad, tap the center of your screen, tap on the 3 dots located at the top right-hand corner of your screen, and then select Raise Hand. If you're using a desktop, click on the Participants button on the bottom of your screen. It opens a side window listing all the participants. On the participant screen, click on the 3 dots located on the bottom left-hand corner and select Raise Hand. If you called in and are listening on your phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and the city clerk will call on you based on the last 4 digits of your phone number. When called upon, please state your name and address for the record. Speakers may also use the chat function to submit their comments and questions. These chats are only available to the commission and the host or chair will read it into the record. The chat function is located on the bottom of the screen. Please make sure to type in your name and address for the record. Speakers are asked to speak to the issues, make comments concise and to the point, and refrain from making duplicate comments. All speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. If you exceed the 3 minutes allotment, the chair will advise you to finish your comment. If you don't adhere to the chair's advice, your microphone will be shut off. So there's some changes to tonight's agenda. We've got additional information for item 5A, which is the Florida League of Cities Home Rule Hero Award. Item 10F is the interlocal agreement between Miami-Dade County and Sunny Isles Beach for enforcement of Section 8CC and the civil citation program. And I'm going to, Sally Heyman is here to, in support of that. And I'm going to move that up when Sally gets here. So we're going to take 10F out of order. We've got item 10H, which is a revised, we are our city's delegate to the Miami-Dade League of Cities. And we have an add-on discussion item regarding a resolution request from the Florida DOT to reduce the speed limit on A1A. May I have a motion to accept these changes?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Motion carries. All in favor? Aye. Sorry. Carried before we voted. Okay. Mauricio, I'm going to say a few words just before we get started. There's two things I'd like to speak to tonight. So first of all, I received a letter from a very young resident named Maribel Langer, and I want to read the letter into the record. And I'm going to just kind of hold the letter up so y'all can see what it looks like. See that? So nice. You know, Maribel has excellent penmanship, very nice block print, and it says, "Dear Mayor Scholl, I do not like seeing litter in the sea because it will hurt the fish by making them sick. Will you please make an announcement so people do not litter in the sea? Please say something about not throwing their waste in the sea. Thank you, Maribel Langer." So, Maribel, we made your announcement, and everybody on this meeting has heard what you had to say, and I don't think anybody will argue with you. So, thank you, Maribel. The second thing I just wanted to speak to tonight briefly is that, again, in my capacity managing the blood center, we are seeing a very serious resurgence of COVID-19 cases in this, in the state of Florida and in this region in particular. As you all know, I manage the convalescent plasma supply, and I can tell you that our order levels in the past 10 days have gone up by 50%. Wow. Okay, so, like we talked about, I was actually on the phone with the Surgeon General this morning, the State Surgeon General, Dr. Rifkes. Like we've talked about, we still have to take this very, very seriously. Everybody has to take it seriously, and everybody has to take personal responsibility. Doesn't mean we're going to shut our economy down again or anything of that nature, but the point is that just because we're open doesn't mean that it's gone away. Okay, the virus is out there, and the fact is, if we're not social distancing, if we're not being careful about wearing masks, if we're not washing our hands on a regular basis, this is why we're seeing a resurgence. And I think I said on several occasions, there's going to be a second wave, and there's going to probably be a third wave and a fourth wave. Fortunately, so far, it's not overwhelming our healthcare system. That's what concerns me the most. Our healthcare system can handle it, but it is happening as we speak. Even, I believe it was CNN today, said basically Florida could be the new epicenter nationally of COVID-19 based on what's going on right now, the epidemiology of what's happening throughout the state. So please, I really, I just beg everybody in the city and, in South Florida and the state, we got to be vigilant. We've got to continue to be very careful. And I'm seeing it firsthand, and and it's very, very frustrating. But it is what it is. The worst part is I believe it's preventable, even with the economy opening up, because I believe if we're all vigilant, we can deal with it. So with that, Mauricio, is Sally here yet?
Yes, ma'am. She is here. Let me bring her up.
Okay, great.
Commissioner Heyman?
Sally, are you there?
Yes, but
our favorite county commissioner is on the line.
You have my screenshot, but not showing me. But it's good to see all of you.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you. Okay, we're going to let Mauricio read 10F into the record, and then you can say a few words, and then we'll take it from there. So, Mauricio, if you could read 10F, please.
Yes, 10F is a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between Miami-Dade County and the City of Sunny Isles Beach for the enforcement of Section 8CC of the Miami-Dade County Code as it relates to Section 28-81 of the Miami-Dade County Code regarding the establishment of a civil citation program.
Excellent. Sally, why don't you take it away?
Oh, hold on, here we go. Now you've got
There you
it,
are.
too. Thank you. Love the technology. Thank you all.
See, wait, I want to, just for the record, Sally, just for the record, I've been on a lot of calls with Sally, and her dog is always on her lap. So today should be no, there we go. Okay, I feel better already. So
Here's you in Sunny Isles Beach and wants to
that's
join.
it.
Anyways,
That's
thank you, Mayor and Commission. The item specifically deals with civil citations, and what it is for law enforcement in the municipalities of Miami-Dade County, the 11th Judicial Circuit, to be a partner with Miami-Dade County on the civil citation program. It gives an additional level of discretion to our police officers, specifically to crimes under Florida statute that are low-hanging misdemeanors. They're basically innocuous crimes of annoying situations. But what it does is it takes our officers away from their zones and municipalities, has them go to TGK, book the person only to have the case dismissed because we're not basically trying them. The consequences of giving somebody a criminal record instead of a chance to remedy the situation is real. We see the disparity every day. This is one of the outcries of the most recent surge of law enforcement reform, because there is gross disparity. Your department joined in under the previous chief and some of this administration, and has been a partner for a couple years. What this is a renewed effort of additional 60 low-hanging misdemeanors that are on the books, and giving your officers additional discretion. Your existing MOU doesn't end till 2021, but right now your officers, they deal with infraction are limited to 15. This is an additional 60. I have confidence in your professional law enforcement officers to give people a chance when it's merited or arrest them when it's not. And this is one more tool. And the city will get to keep of the citation, 75% of it goes into the coffers. I think you put it into crime prevention and community education, the fund last time. And with that, I look forward to your favorable vote, and if you have any questions. And then as a sidebar, I want to thank you all. We're partners in this virus. I heard your opening statements. You all have been wonderful to deal with. Mr. Manager and the mayor, I've spoken to numerous times. You're on the coastal calls, and we are in this together. And I'm home isolating, and when I leave my home, I have a mask on virtually all the time. So stay safe to everybody, and thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you. Chief, are we in support of the proposed resolution? Is he on, Mauricio?
He's on. Chief, go ahead.
All right. I hope everybody can hear me.
We can.
Actually, we are absolutely on board with that. And I have to say that I really, really thank Commissioner Heyman for always spearheading this issue. She has been a giant supporter of it, and we certainly are. It just gives us another layer of tools in our tool belt to be able to deal with situations in the best way that we can. And it definitely saves us resources. It keeps our officers on the street, and it does a good job at keeping, especially young offenders, out of the system. When we can. So,
excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Sally. Do we have any questions or comments from the commission?
I have a question.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
Hello, Commissioner Hayman. I received a handful of phone calls about this from residents, and for their clarification, I've clearly read through it, but can you give some of the examples of some of these, citations, and so that people aren't concerned that we're going to be giving tickets for people that are doing some sort of violent crime?
No, thank you, Vice Mayor. No, first of all, there is no felonies involved. It's strictly misdemeanor. And what you have is, panhandling, blocking the road, fishing off a bridge, littering. These are by statute violations that could create a criminal arrest record for people. But the thing is they don't belong in our system. No one's better for having the initial arrest. And your chief does have a list now of the new 60 plus the old 11 and amended 4 more. So if any of the constituents are interested, but it has nothing to do with crimes against person, and clearly no felonies.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
Great.
Can I?
Jennifer. Okay, Dana? Dana, go ahead.
So what happens when there's an overlap? Let's say there's the littering law in the county, but there's a litter law. Do we have any litter laws on our city books or?
You have organic echo, but I did get the gist of your question. Usually a superior government, if you will, with greater authority supersedes. But here's the reality. This is discretion from the very start with each department's police chief directing his officers, whoever he or she may be, on what to do if it comes about. And so it's a matter of them writing a ticket. What makes it uniform under the MOU is you'll know what this person is doing in any other jurisdiction in Miami-Dade County / the 11th Judicial Circuit, as well as other municipalities knowing what they're doing here in Sunny Isles Beach. And so it makes it uniform. I hope that answers the question.
I think it's great. Great initiative.
Great. Jennifer.
I think this is fantastic. It really, the way I see it, it really protects a lot of young kids. Like, I'm sure at some point as a teenager, I was pushing around a shopping cart somewhere with a friend in it. And we shouldn't be criminalizing and potentially ruining the lives for that level infraction, right? Furthermore, I see it as an opportunity to reduce, giving the police officers the discretion means that they can choose not to arrest, which means that it reduces the amount of that level of confrontation that, as we've seen, can very easily go sideways over something as simple as fishing off a pier or pushing around a shopping cart or littering. Giving the police that discretion, I think, will help us reduce that level of confrontation as well. So I think this is wonderful.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So the irony of it is, I think our police always took that discretion, but now they can do it officially. Like, I've been out with our police many times.
And
yeah, I mean,
that's it.
Yeah. I think our police always used a lot of they've always used a lot of common sense when it comes to these things. But the fact is, now it's official, which is great. So, okay. With that, I will take a motion.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay. Thank you, Sally. Thank you very much. Keep fighting the good fight downtown, and we appreciate everything you do for us, Sally. Thank you.
Vice versa. Stay healthy and safe. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. You too, Sal. Okay. Bye-bye.
Wait,
Okay, Mauricio. Okay. Item 10F passes. Okay, and let's move on to item 5A.
5A is the presentation for the Home Rule Hero Award.
Okay, Chris, you want to take that? You got to get off of mute.
I was
There you
going to
go.
defer to you on this one.
Oh, okay.
Because
That's
it's,
okay. I
it's
don't
higher
mind.
than my
Yeah.
pay grade.
Okay, that's okay. So we are very pleased that the Florida League of Cities chose to honor our Vice Mayor Svechin with the Home Rule Hero Award. And it says here in the cover letter, your outspoken advocacy for municipal home rule leading up to and during the 2020 legislative session is an inspiration and a model for municipal officials statewide. Efforts such as yours are an integral piece of the League's grassroots advocacy and a key component to our success. So I just really want to, the League is putting out a press release on this, and I just want to really thank and congratulate Vice Mayor Svechin. And this is not something that gets handed out lightly. I can tell you, they do go through a process here. And I've said many times, I've been extremely busy during COVID with my One Blood duties, with my city duties, and the Vice Mayor has backstopped me on multiple occasions. And again, so I'll give her the Vice Mayor Hero Award in addition to the Home Rule Hero Award. So thank you. Thank you very much. And congratulations, Vice Mayor Svechin. So absolutely, let's hear it. So
Can I add a comment,
okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Absolutely, Chris, go ahead.
I just want to add, I want to give a word of praise to Catherine Matos, who has received this award this year and had been very helpful and instrumental in our presentations with the legislative session for the past few years, who, as everyone knows, has moved on to a higher and greater position.
Well, I don't know about, I don't know if there's any greater position than working at the city of Sunny Isles Beach, but maybe a different position. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Congratulations to Catherine as well. So, okay. That's 5A. Once again, congrats, Larissa. Item 5B.
Mayor, before we continue to the next item, Vice Mayor Svechin had something for Commissioner Hayman.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Larissa, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. You ran away, Sally. Can we put that up on the screen, Mauricio?
Yes, give me 1 second.
Trying to figure out how to make this work as we, go along. Normally, if we were in person, we could do this differently. But I wanted to recognize Commissioner Hayman, who recently won the FAC Presidential Advocate Award, which is the Florida Association of Counties. The FAC Presidential Advocate recognition is given to county commissioners who have shown exceptional leadership in advocating with FAC during the 2020 session to advance the county's legislative agenda. It's our duty as commissioners to stand up for our community, to fight to preserve the unique aspects of where we live, work, and play, said FAC immediate past president and Leon County Commissioner Nick Maddox. For more than 85 years, the Florida Association of Counties has represented the diverse interests of Florida's counties, emphasizing the importance of protecting home rule, the concept that government closest to the people governs best. The Florida Association of Counties helps countless counties effectively serve and represent Floridians by strengthening and preserving county home rule through advocacy, education, and collaboration. So our very own commissioner got this award. It's really a huge honor. She works very hard in advocating for everybody, especially us. And I'm glad that her staff was kind enough to get me this picture so that we can do sort of this de facto recognition for her. But we'll send you something as well, Sally. Congratulations. We're really proud of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great. All right, Sal. Way to go. So, wait, she's on mute. She's on mute, Marisa. Can we unmute her?
Go ahead, Commissioner Hayman.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I'm surprised, but and humbled. But thank you. We all strive to serve the public, and a lot of fights are worthy to take on our behalf, especially the cities I represent. So thank you very much, and I'm still out there to do the job with y'all. So thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Great. Thanks, Sally. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm leaving now for good.
Go.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay, Mauricio, we go to 5B, which is our audit report for fiscal year 2018-2019.
Yes. Give me 1 second. Let me bring on Tiffany. Tiffany, go ahead. Tiffany, can you hear me? If not, we also have Eddie Castaneda, who's with MSL, our auditors. He'll present the PowerPoint presentation. Eddie, are you there?
Well, maybe it wasn't meant to be. We can keep moving, Mauricio, and then come back to it. Okay.
Yes.
So you can so you can kind of work to get Tiffany on, and we'll start with the resolutions. We have no zoning matters, no ordinances tonight, so we're going to go right to resolutions, and we're going to start with Resolution 10A.
Okay. Resolution 10A is a resolution ratifying a First Amendment to the agreement with Craven Thompson and Associates, Inc. to provide engineering consulting services for the Golden Shores Utility Undergrounding and Roadway Improvement Project.
Okay. Who's going to speak on that item, Chris? Who's speaking on that item?
He stepped away from his camera.
Okay. Chris, come back. Okay. Wow. Boy, we are striking out tonight, aren't we? Okay. Well, the next two are on the city engineer.
Mayor, let me bring on Rick. He'll present that item.
Chris, we just called you up and you missed it. Yep. There we go. Okay, let's go back to 10A. 10A.
All right, 10A.
Oh, there's okay. Okay, hold on. Let's do 10A and then we'll go back to Tiffany. Boy, this is getting tough tonight. Okay,
so
go ahead, Chris.
10A is a fairly small amendment to Craven Thompson's contract. Craven Thompson is doing the engineering and planning for the undergrounding in Golden Shores. We also had the situation of the county's, the state's RRR ended regarding Collins now, ended at the Lehman Causeway because that was the extent of their project. As part of that project, they engineered the street lighting for the entire section of Collins. We have 12 more poles that are beyond that. It made sense to retain Craven Thompson to do the planning and engineering for the last 12 poles on Collins because it kind of corresponds with what they're doing now in Golden Shores. So this is an amendment to their contract to do the plans and engineering for the last 12 streetlights on Collins at the north end.
Excellent. Okay. Any questions for Chris? Okay. Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Miss Tiffany. We got to go off mute. You got to take Tiffany off mute. There you go.
You hear me?
Okay. Now we can hear you.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. I'm happy to report that we've completed another audit year for fiscal year 2018-2019 with an unmodified opinion and no findings. We do have Eddie Castaneda from MSL PA who's going to deliver a brief presentation about the audit and the comprehensive annual financial report. You each should have received either a hard copy, which was placed in your box, or an electronic copy. And is Eddie on, Mauricio?
Yes, I'll bring him on right now. Give me 1 second.
Great.
Okay, Eddie?
There he is. Okay, he's on mute.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi, everyone. Hello? Am I coming in clear? Just want to make sure.
Yeah, you're good.
Great. Good evening, City Commission. My name is Eddie Castaneda. I serve as the audit manager on the city's financial audit. The shareholder on the engagement is Bill Blend. He unfortunately could not make tonight's meeting. However, he sent me in his stead. And as Tiffany had mentioned, we're just going to do a brief kind of overview of the audit, what was and a high-level financial analysis. Before I get into it, though, I do want to take the time to thank Tiffany Neely and her staff. An audit is, a months-long process with a lot of requests and documentation to be provided, and staff's patience. So I do want to thank her and her staff in getting this accomplished. Okay. So the next slide.
Okay.
So as auditors, we are bound by our professional standards to have some communications to those charged with governance. In this case, would be the commission. Our auditors' responsibilities are: we audit the financial statements, making sure that the information contained in that document is free from material misstatement. Management's responsibility is the responsibility of the overall underlying data that goes into that. We did test internal controls. The city's significant accounting practices can be located in note 1 of that document. Management has represented to us certain representations, such as they gave us access to all information. Nothing was withheld from our requests. The assigned individual for oversight was Tiffany Neely, and the audit schedule did go past what we would hope, but obviously there were other concerns in wrapping this up, which are COVID related. So what we delivered to you is the auditor's report on the financial statements. As Tiffany said, it is an unmodified opinion, which is a quote unquote clean opinion. There were no material findings or weaknesses noted. Our second report is a report on the internal control over financial reporting and compliance. As auditors, we're required to evaluate the city's internal controls to ensure that they are operating effectively and as intended. We had no internal control findings. Next slide. We have the Florida Auditor General requires us to have certain representations made to them on the city's behalf, which is called the Independent Auditor's Management Letter. We did have one suggestion for improvement, which is an observation, and it was related to grant reporting, just a untimely filing of an annual report on one of the city's grants. However, the granting agency it's not a non-compliance with the grant or anything. It's just an observation for improvement. Can we go back one slide? Sorry. The independent accountant's report, again, we're required to ascertain whether or not the city was in material compliance with Florida statute investment policies and procedures, and we're happy to say that the city is in compliance with those investment standards. Next slide. I know it seems like a lot of reports. The last one that I'll get through is with basically the single audit, where we test the major programs, federal in this instance, federal funds that are given to the city to ascertain whether or not the city is in material compliance with those grant agreements. And there was no compliance or internal control findings related to the city's grants. So just a quick overview for the general fund, which is the main operating fund of the city. As you can see, it did a year-to-year comparison. The city's doing well. Its growth, it seems this is our 4th year doing the audit. It seems that the city tends to keep growing in terms of their fund balance, their unassigned fund balance specifically. As you can see, there was increases in assets over last year, mostly related to investment a better return on the city's investments, as well as some capital assets that were placed into service. The key number here for financial health of the city is that unassigned fund balance as a percent of total expenditures, that's 75% on the second row from the bottom. That percentage is the percentage of what the city has in unassigned fund balance as a percentage of their overall yearly expenditures. So as you can see, 75% is quite healthy for the city, the size of Sunny Isles in terms of its operating expenditures as well as its population. Next slide. Just a high-level overview of the general fund budget. The budget came in positive. More revenue came in. This was mostly, like I said, it was the investment income. City's investments performed very well last year, 2019, and their budgeted expenditures were actually lower than what was actually budgeted, related to savings and unfilled the vacancies and the benefits associated to that. So as you can see, that it was a $7.6 million positive from budget to actual for the year. Next slide. And the proprietary fund of the city, which is the stormwater fund, again, it's very even. It operates at a operating income of 100,000 roughly. And their unrestricted net position of this fund is slowly, but it is steady increasing from year to year. You see, you have a $1.2 million in unrestricted net position in this fund. And the fund does operate positively. And then after that, I think if the commission has any questions, or feel free to ask.
Does anybody have any questions for Eddie?
Mm-mm.
Well, the one thing I will say is I think it will change materially this year. So
yes, it
this
will.
year's gonna
That investment,
yeah.
I don't know if it'll come in as strong.
I don't think we're going to be making a lot of investment income this year. So, but I guess it's the same old story. Let's take it while we can get it. So,
Yes, sir.
but fortunately, I believe the city's healthy finances. This is why we have healthy finances for times like these. And that's why we're feeling reasonably comfortable as we operate. And but I think that we've still got to be very conservative this year, given that we're not sure how long extraordinary expenses will last, what this will do to our tax. We're not sure what our tax base will look like next year. There's a lot of what ifs going on right now. I see Tiffany shaking her head, so she's obviously thought of these things as well. But in any case, I'm glad. Once again, I think our finance department's always been a shining star, and it sounds like last year was no exception. So, to Tiffany and her team, thank you very much. It's always nice when your auditors say nice things about you. So this is important.
It is. And thank you, Eddie.
Yes.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. Thanks. There we go. Do we need any resolution or anything to accept this, or this is just informational? Correct, Mauricio?
This is informational, Mayor.
Okay, very good.
We do
Eddie,
have someone
you.
that wishes to speak, Mayor.
Okay, we have a public speaker on this. Okay.
Yeah.
Mauricio?
Jesse, go ahead. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
You need to unmute her. She's on mute.
Yeah, she keeps muting herself. Jesse, can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay, Jesse, go ahead. You're unmuted.
I believe that was a mistake, but I just want to say that I'm very proud of our leaders and the honors they've received this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Okay. With that, Eddie, once again, thank you very much, to you, your firm, and Tiffany, great job as always. And we look forward to the budget process again. So,
Yes.
It's always a thrill. Yeah, it always seems to be upon us. I mean,
A never-ending cycle.
I know. It seems like we finish. It's like painting the Brooklyn Bridge. You finish
Yes.
and you start again. So,
Yes.
absolutely. So, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we will now move. Okay, Eddie. Thank you. Take care. We will now move on to item 5B.
5B is a resolution approving change order number 4 to the agreement with Nunez Construction for the Gateway Park Center project.
10B.
I'm sorry, 10B. Thank you, Ed.
10B.
We just finished 5B. Okay, that's 10B. Okay, who's going to speak to this? Chris, come off mute.
Yeah.
There you
Rick,
go.
are you on? Rick on?
Yes, Rick is on. He's coming on right now.
Okay. Ah,
Yeah,
there he is.
there he is.
Go ahead, Rick.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Change order for the Gateway Center Park build out. We have a few items that we've been hanging on to that we wanted to bring before the board for change order approvals for some minor additions that we're making to the building and some extra services to the contractor based on changing some existing fire sprinkler piping. Total of the change order is $23,121. And we're proceeding with completing the building. So this just ties up a few loose ends for us.
So I stopped by there and looked through the window the other day, and it's looking really good. It's looking very, very nice. The design is beautiful, and I think that the looks like the contractor's doing a really nice job. The finish work looks really good, which is the part that we see. So so any questions for Rick regarding the change order?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to get clarification. The card readers, that's for the existing ones that are in the separate part that no one actually sees. So we're not replacing card readers that are brand new in the build out. It's for the existing area that's sort of the storage area. Is that correct?
Actually, there's 2 card readers in the hallway on 2 existing doors, and we're changing them to be compatible with the rest of the card readers that we're installing on the new area.
Okay.
So there's a citywide upgrade to card readers, and these are we're gonna make it all match.
Okay.
Got it. Any other questions? Dana.
Let me mute. Can you hear me I'm just speaking into my phone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to leave your computer on mute and just use your phone, because otherwise it gets the cycle. Go ahead.
So how many more change orders are we anticipating? Because we're scheduled. What's our deliverable on this? So August, September.
Well, we're not expecting any more change orders at this point in time, and we are shooting for August, September to complete the project.
Okay. Hopefully we'll be out of our emergency state by then, and we'll have an open senior center. Hopefully.
That would be great. Right.
Just one additional comment on that. Based on the new normal, we may be talking about some things that maybe weren't anticipated last year when we put this together. Basically, Rick's correct. This has been, other than direct decisions that we made to finish off some additional space and things. I think this will go down in history as the least number of change orders based on just the basic project. But we're still thinking about some possibilities based on the quote new normal that's coming in that we're dealing with.
But wouldn't those be kind of universal, the Pelican as well as Gateway, whether it's sanitization or it's, any type of, are we looking at it globally, all the different areas, or?
Yes, it could be. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So Chris, are you talking about restructuring or rethinking some of these areas?
Well, let me
redesigning.
We may look at things like, just to give you a simple example, where we don't have doors that open automatically. We may have, we may want to put something like that in certain areas. There's we've got people climbing all over each other in certain departments and things right now where the cubicles aren't really cubicles. They're desks with a divider in the middle of them. I mean, there's a lot of things that this has made us think about, put it that way.
Okay, thank you.
So clearly with new construction, if you can install those now, I think that's what Chris is talking about. It's funny, every bathroom I look at where the door opens in, I'm like, what's going on here? You wash your hands and then you got to grab the public restroom door and open it. So what's wrong with that picture? So I've been thinking, should we install door kicks to where you have a switch that you can kick with your foot and it opens the door, things of that nature. So I think that we're going to be starting to see a lot of these types of things going forward. But we'll take it as it comes and we'll go from there. Any other questions regarding item 10B? With that, I'll take a motion.
I'll move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Like sign? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item 10C.
C is a resolution ratifying an update to the Title VI non-discrimination policy and plan.
Okay,
This is an item we're bringing before the board to update our lab policy for our website to conform to the state requirements for some language changes, as well as to clarify a few staff position assignments within the lab policy to match our lab certification package that we're presently working with FDOT to receive approval of.
got it. Any questions regarding 10C? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 10D.
10D is a resolution approving a Fourth Amendment to the agreement with Academy Bus Motor Coaches for transportation services. And this is Sylvia, and she's coming on right now, Mayor.
Okay. Sylvia.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you see? Hi, Honorable Mayor and Commission. This item is for our transportation services for recreation, primarily summer camp, winter break camp, and spring break camp. It was time for our renewal. This is our last renewal, so we'll have to go out to bid before next summer. We are definitely not going to be doing field trips this summer with the new normal. However, hoping that things get back to a more reasonable condition for winter break camp, and we are able to do something similar to what we've done in the past with field trips and requiring transportation services.
Okay. Any questions for Sylvia? Okay. Do I hear a Jennifer?
I just want to make one comment. I want to thank Sylvia because of all the people who got thrown a curveball in this. Sylvia's department definitely got hit with having to pivot. I just want to thank you, Sylvia, for reopening our parks and keeping us sane.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We have a really great team.
So, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Any other comments? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia. Item 10E.
10E is a resolution approving a First Amendment to the agreement with Ronald L. Book for professional legislative relations and lobbying services.
Okay.
This is just a renewal of the contract, and none of the terms have changed since last year.
Okay. Any questions regarding Ron Book's contract? Vice Mayor.
Chris, I know that you had mentioned in the past that Ron has been working with Halsey Bashir's office to help us get the ombudsman. Do we have an update from Ron Book's office as far as what's happening with that?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I almost forgot. We did have a conference call with Ron's office last week, staff, and he's going to be speaking with the secretary, Halsey Bashir's, and he thinks that, I mean, his department is one of the ones that are getting inundated with regard to everything going on, and but he's going to try to squeeze them out because he said that he was starting to get, back not to normal, but to a point that he can deal with some other issues. So Ron was going to try to get in the door first on that, so we can get back into discussions with him over the issue of getting some assistance down in our area.
Great, thank you.
Great. Any other questions regarding the contract? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Okay. So speaking of our state government, I believe Senator Pizzo's on the line. Is Jason on?
Yes, give me
You
one
see
second,
Jason?
Mayor. Yeah, Senator, go ahead.
Jason, how are you? Just want to thank you for joining our meeting today.
I apologize. I'm actually in between flights, so I apologize. I can't.
That's okay. That's okay. We know you're busy, and we appreciate you. You kind of parachuting into our municipality. So, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Have a great evening. We appreciate it. Senator Pizzo is our state senator from our district here. So, thank you. Item 10G.
10G is a resolution in accordance with the Florida Governor's Executive Order number 20-69, adopting rules of procedure for virtual quasi-judicial meetings that take place during the pendency of the state of emergency declared in Florida Governor's Executive Order 20-52.
Okay. I think that means what we're doing, right, Ed?
Yes, sir. As y'all know, one of the governor's executive orders made it possible for city commissions and county commissions to conduct quasi-judicial proceedings virtually like we're doing here tonight. But we need to adopt some basic rules in order to be able to do that, and that's what this does. And they're very basic, they're very unintrusive, and they're just pretty much the bare minimum in order to permit us to do this. And the reason that we're doing it now is that Claudia has an application on that'll come on next month for a conditional use permit. And so we're going to have to do that by quasi-judicial proceeding. And this is just laying the groundwork for that.
Excellent. And part of the rules is I don't get the mute button, just for the record. So I'm not usurping the mute button in the process. So only Mauricio's got the mute button. So he's the Wizard of Oz on this one. Okay. Any questions regarding these procedures for us to have our? Yes, Vice Mayor. Okay.
Mr. City Attorney, how is the public going to be made aware of these new rules?
Well, they're going to be able to participate just like they're participating now.
So nothing changes for them?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
We encourage their participation. The thing will be noticed like every other quasi-judicial proceeding is noticed, so the public will have the opportunity to participate if they choose to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I tend to be generally opposed to a quasi-judicial format being delivered virtually because in my heart, I believe that there has to be some sort of a due process function. We've discussed this and bandied this about internally. I understand that there's a conditional use permit application, and that's not necessarily a controversial or large scale item. But generally speaking, when we have large site plan approvals, I would be very much opposed to having a virtual hearing and would want just to look at this at a case-by-case basis. I don't believe that this virtual format is strong enough of a guarantee of due process. So I'm kind of against that unless, again, where we have something on a limited basis. I've taken the webinar, I've discussed it with Land Use Council, and that's just how I feel about this. I can understand this, but not for something of a significant nature. And in fact, other municipalities, they require literally waivers and hold harmless. So for me, it's just not strong enough a due process mechanism.
So what do you suggest we do?
Well, let's put it this way. The Supreme Court just is now introducing jury trials on a limited basis. So they're actually, again, I know there's still emergency orders in place, but we're phasing out of that, and we should be able to do some sort of an in-house meeting with social distancing.
Well, I'm not phasing out of it. and I'm not showing up, I can tell you. So that's me. So I actually applaud the rules because I feel like it gives us flexibility where I think we need it. I don't disagree that certain venues and certain forums are better in person. It goes without saying, but I think it's it's a very personal decision right now on where you want to go and what you want to do. And I think at least this mechanism gives us the flexibility to still conduct our city government. But to force somebody to come to a meeting over the mechanism, I would have an issue with that.
We're not forcing, we're giving them the opportunity to speak and to have a true public hearing. So for me, I can understand we're in a small item like the public's item.
Welcome
I can
aboard,
understand.
ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, if everybody can mute, please. I'm getting a lot of background chatter.
Houston, Bobby.
Okay.
Your
All right. I'm sorry, Dana.
safety we're always our top priority at American Airlines.
Wait, Mauricio, I got somebody on American Airlines. I'm not sure who's not on mute here.
That was
I think-
Senator Pizzo.
I think
Okay,
this whole
sorry,
meeting,
Jason.
I think this whole meeting tonight with some of the technical glitches and aspects, I think it's so much.
Yeah, but Dana, okay, that's great. You don't like it, but what's the alternative?
Having when you have a significant when you have a significant site plan approval process, I think we should have some sort of an in city chambers with social distancing, and we can manage it.
Yeah, I don't agree.
I would want to defer.
I don't agree. Yeah, because I don't think I want to force anybody to have to show up anywhere right now for the foreseeable future, just because.
It's just it's due process.
Well, I have to show up. What if I don't show up? Are you telling me that we don't have a forum if I don't show up? So if I decide not to show up, what happens? This is my point. Okay.
It's a deferral. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. No, I understand, Dana. Dana, I'm not being argumentative. I'm really not. I'm just trying to make a point that, again, let's not interpret. I don't mean this isn't directed at you. Let's not interpret because we're opening up, around town that things are necessarily normal. Mm-hmm. Okay, because they're not. And this is my point. This is a very personal decision on what is normal and what isn't normal. So my point is, I don't think we have the flexibility to force certain issues on people because maybe folks don't, they don't want to go into a public place, social distancing or not. I certainly don't in most cases. I mean, I can tell you. So this is, so I want to be careful because I want to manage the public's expectations on this, because if we have to have a meeting, if we have to have a site plan approval, and who's to say that that what's going to come up on the next agenda isn't important? I mean, we're making a judgment call that it's benign relative to a site plan approval, but it's meaningful to somebody because they're coming to City Hall and they're asking for an approval. So I just want to be careful that I want to be careful that we're not setting a precedent in terms of not able to conduct city business and give folks the most flexibility. That's all.
I think manage if they can implement jury trials at this point. I think we can manage. But again, for me, on a one-time basis, I'm in favor of this for next month. But going forward,
we'll see.
It's a due process issue.
We'll take it case by case. But my point is that I think we're gonna have to see on a month by month basis where we stand because you got it. Yep, I understand. Okay, thank you. So with that, we do have a public comment on this one from Ella Kalish. Mauricio, do you want to read that into the record?
She's actually raised her hand to speak, so we can let her speak in lieu of her comment. 1 second.
Great. Ella,
go ahead. If you can just state your name and address for the record.
Ella Kalish, Sunny Isles Beach, Winston Tower 200. Honorable leaders, thank you for this. I want to commend Dana for speaking up. I think she's absolutely correct. I just have a couple quick things to say. When one of the solutions may be that you have both an audio, a video participation. At the same time, you're opening it up to those that choose to be there in person and social distance. The business of the people in the Sunny Isles Beach regarding anything related to zoning should be held back, I think, until public attendance in person is reconvened. Zoning is an issue where solidarity and the passion of the Sunny Isles Beach residents and stakeholders must be in full view and done in the light of sunshine, not a video where many, one, don't have the language skills, secondarily, may not have access to or understanding of the digital communication tools that we're making available to the limited number of residents that are choosing to participate right now in this kind of forum. So thank you, Dana, for taking a strong stance on that. And I'm really, really concerned about not having an open forum available and doing this in the sunshine. Additionally, any significant site plan appraisal or process, really very, very concerned about it being done in this kind of remote forum. I just think it's inappropriate, and I would hope that you would really consider a better way to handle this so that we do have due process to be heard. We are the residents of the city of Sunny Isles Beach. I wanted to ask Ed Dion. Hi, Ed. When you say conditional use permit, could you please explain specifically what that means and what that is for? In this instance, they're requesting a conditional use permit for what?
It's not on the agenda now. It's coming up next month. But basically, Publix has made an application for a conditional use permit to build out the remaining part of its store to be a liquor store. And it requires a conditional use permit from the city, and it has to go through a quasi-judicial proceeding. If I may add, Mayor and Commissioners, based upon my conversations with the city manager and Claudia Hasbin, there are no other site plan applications that are currently pending in the city. So I don't foresee anything like that coming before the commission over the next several months. So really, we just did this in order to attempt to accommodate Publix. But if I can understand if you don't want to utilize that process going forward, we can certainly defer those projects, down the road.
I think, if I may, and thank you for that, Mr. Dion, I appreciate it. It is important to defer it. I vote to defer it. You know that we've started and are very active coalition, the Sunny Isles Beach Unity Coalition, and we really want to be engaged more closely in the dialogue with regard to that. But Ed, you said that you had no requests for site plans. My understanding is that Deezer has presented one.
Ella, no, okay. The city attorney spoke, but the fact is, that's not what this issue is about. Okay, so I'm not cutting you off because of Des or anybody else. I'm just saying that the city attorney says that there's no other site plans out there right now. So that's the city's position. The only point that I was bringing up was that the decision whether to go to a public place at this time or in the near future or in the distant future is a very personal decision. And that's the point that I was trying to make. But hopefully it'll be a moot point, like we're saying. The Publix application sounds fairly benign, or it's not something we can't handle. And to your point, what we'll do is if we do get a site plan application for some reason, we'll make a decision at that time on how to handle it. And, and if it's a deferral, if that's the kind of the wisdom of the commission is to defer it so we can have an in-person process or a more robust process, we'll do it. So
I would hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ella. Thank you. Okay. So that's item
Mayor,
10G.
we do have one more person that wants to speak.
I wanted to comment.
Okay. Sure.
Were you talking about me, Mauricio, or is there somebody else?
No, there's someone else. Kathy Schultz.
Kathy?
Kathy, go ahead.
Kathy, you there?
She's unmuted and
Okay, Kathy, can you hear us? Okay. Did she submit a public speaker card, Mauricio, or did she just chat?
no, it was just she raised her hand.
Okay. All right. All right, Jennifer.
Okay, we can move on.
No, yeah, because we were in the public hearing, Jennifer. So okay, so public hearing's closed, Jennifer.
Okay, I just wanted to comment on the due process issue, that, it's not, just to clarify, not that this is what Dana was saying, but I want to make sure that we're not confusing people. This is not a vacuum of due process. The rules do allow for the person requesting that they provide evidence, they can present evidence, that we can take testimony. So that the process, it's there, it is virtual, it is a little different, but we're not stripping the process of, the hearing of due process. And personally, I like the idea of preserving my option, whether to appear someplace in public or not. That's important to me as well, for my health and my safety. And if others can exercise that for themselves, including the people presenting, if we can preserve that for as long as we can, given our circumstances, I think that's important as well. And to Ella's point, that maybe the virtual component doesn't allow some people to participate, the physical component doesn't allow other people to participate, right? If they can't physically make it to the meeting because of their work schedules or because of a disability, and they have to watch it from home or online, those people can't participate in the same way. So it's always 6 on one hand and half a dozen on the other, as we're trying to balance the different interests. So I think we're okay with this one.
Yeah. Okay. But I think we'll take it as it comes. Dana, good comment. Appreciate everybody's comments. I think we'll take it as it comes. Ella, thanks for speaking up. And we'll play it by ear. Obviously, we're all in completely uncharted territory here. I don't think it's ever been, the state's never been in a position like this. We've never been in a position like this. So clearly, I think some pragmatism and some common sense prevail. But also, like I said, I feel like these are personal decisions. We don't want to force anybody. So we'll see. But in response to the city manager's comments, it looks like there's nothing on the horizon that's material. So that's a good thing. So maybe we can dodge the bullet until we get our society back on track. Any other comments? Okay, with that, I will take a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
With my proviso for this time only.
Okay, so you're voting in favor?
In favor with the idea that, this is on a one-time case by case only, or at least for this next one.
Wait, okay, just to be clear, can she qualify her vote? I don't think you can qualify your vote. I think you got to be for it or against it. But
I would move to defer any other site plan. But if the case is for this one only and for the next month's quasi judicial, I'm okay with that. For this one time only for the next month.
Okay, okay, I just want to be clear. That's not what we're voting on. We're voting on this particular the adoption of.
Wait, this has a wide open berth, like from now until forever. This quasi judicial, it's now for. Yeah, we're not.
Just to be clear, we're not adopting it for next month's, or we're adopting it as a process. What I think we all agree on is that if we get a meaningful site plan or zoning matter that comes in, we're gonna look at how we're gonna do that. But these are the procedures that we're adopting in order to be in line with the state, in order to be able to have our procedure next month. But we're not adopting them for one meeting, just to be clear. That's not what the resolution says. Okay. Okay. I think the rest of it. Okay. Good. So okay. What's your vote?
I'll say yes.
Okay. Okay. Motion carries. Mauricio, we're good?
We're good, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good discussion. See, even virtually, we can have a good, robust debate here. Okay, item 10H.
10H is a resolution authorizing Commissioner Alex Lama as the city's delegate to the Miami-Dade League of Cities and Commissioner Jennifer Vizcarra as the alternate to attend meetings from May 2020 through May 2021.
Okay. Again, I want to thank Alex and Jennifer for accepting. We kind of rotate this around, especially for the newer commissioners, because it gets them kind of out in the mix with a lot of their colleagues in the other cities, and it's a good way to meet the other elected officials, the other state officials as well. So I appreciate Alex and Jennifer, and I believe Dana served in this capacity in the past. I want to thank Dana for her past service. I know Larissa goes to a lot of these meetings as well. I kind of feel like I paid my penance the first 5 years as a commissioner with League of Cities, and then I've kind of bowed out gracefully since then. But League of Cities plays an important part in what we do, and especially from a getting to know your colleague and getting together on issues of common importance. So thank you. Do we need so that's a resolution? Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Yeah. You both can't abstain. Any opposed? So, okay. Motion carries. Item 10I.
10I is a resolution ratifying the cancellation of regular city commission meetings scheduled for May 21st, 2020.
Okay. So we're ratifying the fact that we didn't have a meeting. And I guess we're just making it official. So because that was kind of okay, great. Any comments or questions regarding it?
Mayor,
okay.
May I?
Yes, Ed.
May I just explain? Under our code, regular meetings can be postponed or canceled by a resolution adopted at a regular meeting by a majority of the commission members. This is just crossing T's and dotting the I's.
Got it. Because we all agreed to cancel the meeting, but we basically, but we didn't do it. We didn't do it in a meeting, is what you're saying. Okay. Any questions regarding 10I?
No.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Mayor, we have a public speaker.
Okay. Go ahead.
Ella, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Ella Kalish, founder of the Sunny Isles Beach Condo Owners Unity Coalition. Now that you've explained 10I, I withdraw my statement.
Thank you, Ella. Okay. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Public hearing's closed. No comments from the commission. Do I hear a motion to approve 10I?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that is it for our regular, for our resolutions. And we have one discussion item, item 12A.
12A is a discussion item regarding a request to the Florida Department of Transportation to reduce the speed limit on State Road A1A and provide for lane closures on the weekends.
Okay, Dana.
Okay, so I've introduced the resolution for consideration. I didn't know it was a discussion item, but in any event, I want to read into the record the memorandum that I provided. The city's current 35 miles per hour speed limit on State Road A1A, which is Collins Avenue, accommodates a large flow of motorist traffic. Our police department provides ongoing speed limit enforcement at multiple points along State Road A1A, yet there have been multiple pedestrian-involved accidents over the past few years. We are a residential and resort-focused community. We are densely populated with ever-growing ranks of non-motorists on our city streets, specifically on Collins Avenue. There is a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit on Collins Avenue in Bal Harbor Village and the town of Surfside. Both have self-conscious motorist slowdowns. Here, the converse is true. Motorists tend to speed up when traversing our city limits. This serves as a detriment to public safety objectives for our pedestrians, bicyclists, and other motorists. Working with FDOT to lower the speed limit to 30 miles an hour on Collins Avenue will improve safety for all road users. Historical data provides that reductions in vehicle speeds can have a significant influence on pedestrian crashes and injuries. It is also documented that pedestrians suffer much more serious injuries when struck by high-speed vehicles than when struck by vehicles going more slowly. Historical data suggests that many pedestrian crashes would be prevented entirely had the vehicles been traveling more slowly, because drivers and pedestrians would have had more time to perceive the threat and react to the risk, averting the crash altogether. The safety of our residents, guests, and visitors is both a shared and universal goal. In addition, nearby Broward County municipalities, such as the city of Hallandale Beach, have implemented lane closures for the benefit of non-motorized transportation, providing more adequately for non-motorized transportation modes along State Road A1A, Collins Avenue, on weekends during summer months will create safer bicycle and pedestrian pathways going forward and enhance the city experience for residents and visitors. So this resolution, again, I did send some correspondence to FDOT. Now I'd like to formalize this to really request that the city work with FDOT formally to hopefully get that accomplished. And of course, with respect to these particular lane closures, we're looking at, I did get some input from Commissioner Hayman, who's no longer on the call, but I incorporated her concept that while it would be a great benefit to the city to have, again, on a temporary trial basis on the easternmost lane, on the westernmost lane, it's probably not feasible to have any sort of weekend temporary closure because of the speed of traffic of the boat trailers and the boating enthusiasts who come in through Sunny House Boulevard. And so the resolution directs the city manager to work with FDOT to reduce the speed limit, to implement those lane closures, but for the south of 163rd Street, and to coordinate efforts with our neighboring municipalities regarding the speed limit reduction and lane closures. And that's the proposed resolution and the commentary.
Okay. So we've had a bunch of public speakers on this one, Marcio, or do you have things that you want to read into the record? How do you want to handle it?
What we could do, Mayor, is we can just read the names because they are lengthy comments. So what we can do is just read the names and their addresses into the record, and their comments will be incorporated into the record for the meeting.
Great.
Okay, so we have comments from Manahem Ben Chimol. Address is 288 188th Street, Sunny Isles Beach Boulevard, in favor of the lane closure and speed reduction. Joanna Rabinovich, also in favor. Her address is 19111 Collins Avenue, Sunny Isles Beach, Florida. Pavel Stoev, he's just basically asking for information and says that as a full-time SIB resident and father of 2 children, strongly supports Commissioner Goldsman's resolution. The next is Dean Burry. His address is 16445 Collins Avenue, and he's against the speed reduction. Next one comes from Jamie Kovelman, and they're in favor of the speed reduction. And we also have Miroslav Boyumel. His address is 17001 Collins Avenue. They're in favor of the speed reduction and temporary lane closures. Arnold Coleman again, in favor of the speed limits. And Joanna submitted another comment and is still in favor. Those are the ones for 12.
Okay. Do we have any public speakers in the chat, or are we?
Yes. Rumiana, give me 1 second. Go ahead, Rumi. Your name and address for the record.
Rumiana Gruzdanova, 220, 186th Street, Golden Shores. I want to say hello to everybody. For me, that is fine about to do on Zoom. Better to be less danger. Thank you, Mayor. I want to say I appreciate to Christopher Russo for the time he spent. We talk a lot for many reasons. For example, 183rd Street, where is the lane from CVS, is only to make a right. It's possible to be left and right. That is for the traffic, also very important. Now the school is closed, but when it's come, it's terrible. Also, the traffic light, we spoke with Russo. Where is the Publix? Where is the school? Over there is a mess with the traffic. I think we spoke before about that, but Russo is considered is gonna resolve this problem. I have a question. This last 12A resolution was not 2 days ago when I meet Mr. Russo. That just came right now. And I am very interested. How come did you vote for this resolution? Do you
No, Rumi, it's a discussion item. It's not a resolution.
Okay.
It's a discussion item. We're discussing a potential resolution.
Okay. But I want to ask, Golden Beach have a 2-line only, and they have a 35 speed. 30 is too much. It's gonna be very big traffic. And we have a lane, but always one lane is closed because the project, which is okay, temporary until they finish. But I'm against this to be close the lane and to be reduce the speed because it's gonna be horrible on Collins. We have to travel more than half hour from one side to the other side. I don't know what is, for me, this is disgusting how some people can do to think about that. But I'm sorry, I want to ask, because I forgot to ask Mr. Russo when I saw him about the one on Atlantic Boulevard.
Okay, Rumi, but we're talking about the item for Collins. Okay.
Okay.
So what I would say is, if you want to, if you have a question for Chris, he can call you tomorrow regarding anything else.
Okay.
But let's stick on the. So we got your opinion on the Collins item.
Collins
is there anything else you want to add?
For me, Collins Avenue is fine. 35, no closure lane. We have many buildings here. Everybody has more than one car. How is gonna be?
Understood. Okay. Thank you, Rumi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mauricio, anyone else?
Yes. Pavel, your name and address for the record, please.
Nope, we got a bad connection.
It's a bad connection. But we read his comment into the record, and we noted it that he submitted 2 comments.
Okay. Anyone else, Mauricio?
No one else, Mayor.
Okay. So the public hearing is closed. To my commission, Jennifer, you want to go?
Sure. With regards to the lane closures, I think the city has been, I assume that this is mostly like for bicyclists, right? And I think the city's been addressing this more comprehensively for years, incrementally, by opening up the back streets. And if we're talking about 163rd Street going north, the answer to the lane closures is called North Bay Road. That's off of Collins. We don't need to close the lanes. There's wider, sidewalks. We have the pedestrian bridge. It goes all the way to Publix. Eventually, if I'm not mistaken, there will be a path, right, connecting through behind Publix. And And we have the meandering path that take us to Heritage Park and into Broward County. So I don't see the need for lane closures because I don't think it's a good balance. Yeah, you're gonna, and plus logistically, right? If it's just for the weekends for a couple of months, that means that we have to be putting up barricades in the middle of Friday, like I guess at midnight, and then taking them down and then storing the barricades and then taking them down like on Sundays and putting them back up on Friday. Like, to me, for what we're trying to accomplish, it doesn't add up for me. I think you can put up some signs and direct the cyclist to North Bay Road, and the path is already there.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Alex?
Yeah, so regarding the 30 miles per hour, I'm in favor of that. I think this is something I've mentioned to Chris, discussed with Chris before. Obviously, I mean, I might be in favor, but obviously we need to look at the data, work with FDOT, and see if there's a real benefit to that. I believe that if you put a 30 mile per hour speed limit, psychologically, people are going to slow down. You have 30 miles, you probably go 38. Closer to 40. If you have 35, you could probably go closer to 46 or 47. But obviously, the chief could probably give us some more data on that. They collect all the speed data on that. So it's something that we should discuss. Initially, I'm in favor, but obviously, we will need to rely on data and discussion among ourselves and some of the experts. Regarding the lane closures, I don't know. I'm having some reservations about that. Just personally, whenever I see lane closures and then you see some cars trying to turn into the properties, it just creates confusion for drivers, for pedestrians. So, but again, I'm open to exploring that, but I just have some reservations. I think it could, perhaps create some more harm than good. But again, we will need to study these situations.
Thank you, Alex. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. And I agree with Alex that a lot of the discussion and the decisions need to be data-driven and based certainly on facts. Chief, I hate to put you on the spot, but I wanted to know if you have any data right now, because I've seen some of the speed signs out. And more specifically, I know some of this information may not be available yet, but how many pedestrian casualties or fatalities, rather, have we had due to speed on Collins in Sunny Isles Beach that you are aware of in the last, let's say, 5-10 years?
Okay. Hope everybody can hear me.
We can.
I went back to between 2017 and currently 2020, and we have had 6 traffic fatalities. Mm-hmm. Out of those 6, 4 of them have been pedestrian crashes, and there's no other way you can look at these type of crashes. They're all tragic, no matter how it happens or anything else. I can tell you that only one of the actual pedestrian crashes, there was a person charged. The others, the pedestrians were crossing against the light when they weren't supposed to be crossing. Doesn't make them any less tragic, but that's what happened. I can tell you, looking at all the different reports, and I've been looking at accident reports for the last 2 days, just trying to prepare for this. It doesn't appear as any of those crashes were speed related. But when you're dealing with pedestrian crashes, it doesn't take an awful lot of speed to cause a catastrophic injury. So that's where we are with that. The other 2 fatalities, obviously, one of them involved a single car vehicle where an elderly driver had a medical episode and collided into a fixed traffic control pole. And the other obviously was most recently with the cyclist. And even on that one, the case is still open, but from everything that I've heard from the officers on the scene, I don't think that they believe that speed was related on that one either.
So do you, obviously you speak to the other chiefs quite often. I know you're very active in those conversations. So if you talk to Golden Beach, who have, you know, just like us, 35, and then Bell Harbor 30, have they recommended, and I don't know if you asked them, that we consider lowering the speed limit? Is it going to make a difference?
Well, you know, Vice Mayor, to be perfectly honest with you, the connection between Golden Beach and Sunny Isles Beach are two totally different animals. You know, because you have to think of, we're 2.5 miles long, and I think we have somewhere around 18 traffic control signals in that 2.5 miles. When you go into Golden Beach, you have, I think you've got one in the center of their island, and that's the only one that they have. And their community is 100% residential. When we consider all of the commercial properties we have on the west side, all those driveways and curb cuts to let people get into those shopping centers, you know, there's a tremendous amount of traffic that currently goes through the city. And I can give you one statistic, but I haven't really had an opportunity to vet it because I just got all of this information very quickly. But what I did, you know, when we start talking about speed and we start talking about crashes and we start talking about all that stuff, so I figured, well, let me see what kind of stats I can bring to you to make you kind of see things a little clearer. So I did from June 16th of 2019 to June 16th of 2020. And I pulled all the traffic crashes we've had in the city. And that includes private parking lot crashes as well as traffic crashes on our roadways. And we had 575 crashes in 1 year period. But now I needed to kind of have another statistic to kind of compare that with. So I went back to our license plate readers, and, you know, they're at every entrance and exit to the city. So that's going to capture every single car that has come in and come out of this city during that same time frame. And I'm going to give you a statistic, and it shocked me, to be perfectly honest with you. But that number came out up to over 35 million cars in a year coming in and going out of the city. So like I said, I haven't been able to vet that with our license plate reader company, but I'm pretty sure that it's fairly accurate, because back in May, I did a 90-day count on how many cars were coming in and out of the city. And it was at 7 million at that particular point. And that was only for 90 days. So I would imagine if you extrapolate all that time over a year, you're going to come pretty close to that number. So it just goes to show you the amount of traffic that we actually have going on in our city that places like Golden Beach just don't have. And that's not to say we've got 35 million cars coming in alone. It's a combination of driving in and out of the city from every direction that we have those LPRs up.
So assuming we can engage in some sort of study with FDOT, which I would support, do you think that the speed lights, or rather the speed signs that you have on Collins, are they helpful to slow people down?
I think that they are, but I know Chris and I have talked to representatives from FDOT before about having, we would like to actually, or at least me personally, I would like to have the stationary ones that go in the median and have them throughout the city, because it's a constant reminder with drivers, you know, they've got to maintain a certain speed. We currently have 2 of them, and we try to position them proportionally throughout the city, so we have an idea of where the speeds are. And I would be totally naive if I said that there wasn't people that were exceeding our speed limits, you know, that because that's happening in every community in America. Okay. But the statistics that our speed devices are capturing don't indicate that there's any type of rampant speeding going on in the city. But I would also agree with Commissioner Lama and yourself that we need to get more data, you know, just so we can see the long-term effect of all of this. So, you know, capturing this stuff on a monthly basis and then looking at it, it's a great tool for me because I can deploy our officers to those areas where it looks like there is more excessive speed than normal. But as far as getting a comprehensive overview of it, I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done.
So, Chris, what's preventing us from putting up those signs that clock people's the stationary ones throughout on the median?
Nothing's preventing us from doing it. We just have to budget for it and get estimates on what they cost and where we want to put them. And
we don't need to get
and go through FDOT first to make sure that they'll approve them.
Actually, Vice Mayor, when we did meet with FDOT, and it was a phone conversation we had with them, because Chris and I were certainly petitioning for them.
Yeah.
And they basically said, listen, if you give us the statistical data on speeding, we'll be more than happy to do it. But without having that statistical data, they were reluctant to put it up just because we were asking for it. And unfortunately, the statistical data that our devices are bringing forth, they're really not going to support that. That there's a major speeding problem. So,
Okay.
but we certainly think that it would be helpful for everybody.
I have a question for Chris. Thank you, Chief. Commissioner Goldman said that some cities have closed down the lanes. I know that you're on constant calls with, I believe, Miami Beach and other cities. Do you have any, from speaking to the city manager, I think it was Miami Beach, who was it?
Well, I called Jimmy today, Jimmy Morales, the manager of Miami Beach. We're on calls a couple of times a week now with everything that's going on. But I had heard, I don't know, I think I saw it on the paper or something, that they were going to close off 2 sections of, they've got roads that are, local city roads like us. They've got county roads, which we don't have, and they have state roads. And they were going to take, I don't know how many blocks in 2 sections up in mid-beach and then a little bit further north, and close lanes off for just this purpose. But I called him today to see how to see how it went, and he told me that they never did it because first of all they vetted it in terms of a meeting to get the word out to the residents of those areas, and he told me that they came to the meeting and none of the residents wanted it. The state actually, he explained the process. They have they require a study be done. It covers a lot of things because they're going to be closing off driveways to roads to, in this case, it was all residential. He told me they didn't have commercial in these 2 areas, but the residents of these people of the areas, the 2 separate areas came, and I guess they made a case that the commission decided not to do it. They just, there was too many concerns and problems, and I'm not sure he thought he could even have the manpower to meet the FDOT requirements. There's a whole list of them. Obviously they'd have to have a different traffic pattern created with MOT from every building that has a driveway out to the road that they're closing. It just wasn't going to work.
And would the municipality have to pay for that study, Chris?
Well, yes, we have to pay for that. Then you'd have to go through permit processing with FDOT.
And do you have an idea what that cost might be?
I don't, but they got through most of the process, but decided to have a public meeting on it with the people who were going to be impacted. And then they changed their mind on doing it because too many people just didn't want to see that level of impact on their area to close the lane. It is pretty onerous when you think about it. I got a summary list of what the requirements were. And if you think about it, it's almost common sense. They talk about, the sections of Collins being proposed. And this was, I think, Collins down there being proposed to be closed included, there was other streets coming into it. There was redirection of that traffic and a plan for each of those roads. Then there had to be a plan for each of the private buildings and business. In this case, it wasn't businesses; it was all condos. They had to take care of that with MOT and traffic control officers. They had to do what was called a performance measure used to determine closure duration. Not sure exactly what that one means. Then you had MOT for all the lanes and what was going to be a safe barrier to that lane, to the traffic lane. Provide the plan for monitoring the congestion, provide coordination with Miami-Dade for any signal timing modifications as a result of and modifications to the time changing of the signals on that area for this time. There's obviously, if you just think about it, there's a lot of work to doing this. That's all there is to it. You can certainly look into it.
Yeah, and I appreciate thank you, Chris, because I appreciate Commissioner Goldman bringing up some of this, because it's a good conversation to have. In the recommendation or the reasoning, there's you spoke about the Hollandale Beach. So I called them to see how it went, because I saw it on social media. And I remember when I saw it, I immediately sent it to Chris and Susan and said, why can't we do this? How are they able to do this and we can't do this? So I spoke to the city, assistant city manager there, and asked him how it's going. And he said it's not. They did it one weekend, and it was a disaster for them. They at first had the commission and residents come in and really support this, because it conceptually makes a lot of sense. But when they tried to put it into practice, they couldn't do it. And both the commission and the residents immediately after that weekend came out and said they don't want this anymore, because part of the problem is that if you're trying to close a lane and you're trying to go straight shoot. Now, I don't ride a bike on a regular basis, but I imagine the benefit here would be that you can just go all the way through Collins and not have to stop. But because we have so many buildings, you have to stop, go on the sidewalk, and you constantly be stopped, much more so than staying on the sidewalk. So I believe that there is certainly a need for us to have more bike-friendly, pedestrian-friendly access, and that I agree with Commissioner Viscara. I think that North Bay Road is a great alternative. When we did the bike to school days, those were great. I actually have already spoken to Chris about potentially closing down that street, maybe one day a month, maybe one day a week during school time in the morning and in the afternoon, so the kids can get to school without having to even worry about the sidewalk. So I believe there's a lot of options. I'm just not convinced about Collins as far as closing any streets. I mean, lanes rather.
I'd like to add a couple things. Talking about sidewalks, I really think we need to work on our sidewalks on Collins Avenue, especially on the east side. And whenever possible, I know we're doing this with whatever land that we own. We're going to widen the sidewalks, especially by Town Center Park, which that's our land. But I think we need to have a serious conversation with some of the buildings on the east side and private property owners and see how they could be part of the solution. And perhaps them, I don't know if they're going to give this, give us like a feet or two of their land and see how we could widen those. I know you're laughing, you're nodding your head, but I don't know. I think we need to have a serious conversation with them. And, they might not give up a feet or two of their land, but we need to look at other methods, signage, some clear markings. Perhaps, it really makes me nervous when I see cars turning into, the buildings on the east side of Collins, and you see pedestrians walking along, and then they have to stop, and some cars are distracted. So it's a conversation to be had with some of these buildings and see how they could perhaps put a speed bump around there, right besides the entrance, because some of them just turn in really quick into that ramp. And so that's pretty much what I'm thinking about out loud. And then regarding speeding, what I've noticed, this is my personal observation, is that, in the mid part of the city, because there's a lot of traffic around Winston Towers, you don't see too much speeding. At least this is my observation. You see some rogue drivers that are just weaving in and out. But I'm concerned, what I've seen a lot of speeding is south of 163rd. So I believe that people just cross that area of the city where there's a lot of cars, and then they feel like they can just speed because obviously they're going south on Collins and they're trying to get to work or whatever they're trying to get to. So I've seen some pockets where you do see a lot more speed. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but that's what I've seen.
So, Chief, you want to comment?
Absolutely. We are certainly aware of certain hot spots in this city where there's the potential for excessive speed. Going westbound on Sunny Isles Boulevard, for instance, is one of them, because people are coming off that flyover and they've pretty much got clear passage to the bridge. So that's one of the areas where our officers are, we're on that one pretty much regular. I have to also tell you, and I think I mentioned this at our last workshop that we had, that, during COVID right now, my officers are using a lot more discretion when it comes to traffic, because we're trying to use visibility as a deterrent, because unfortunately we're trying to make sure that they maintain their social distance as much as they can. And unfortunately on a traffic stop, it's usually pretty much a up close and personal interaction between the officer and the violator, where, driver's license and registration papers are being transmitted back and forth. So we're asking them to use their discretion and try to only utilize, traffic stops when it's a very flagrant violation. But I can tell you that where we put our traffic trailers, and we can, that's the good thing about these things, they're mobile and we can put them anywhere we want. So the areas where you feel like we have a problem, we will certainly address that. Normally we have one down in the south end of the city to capture the traffic that's coming out of Hollover, because that's always been a big complaint, that people, once they, they're moving very quickly through Hollover, and then once they get into our city, they continue on. Mm-hmm. And some of that data, is it does indicate that there are some excessive speeds in there. But I will tell you, just this latest run, we did it, and I actually had them move the traffic trailer down a little bit. But we ran traffic in that area from the 27th of May through June 16th. And the traffic, and again, they had the traffic trailer set at 164th and Collins. And the average speed coming through there was 31.73 miles per hour. So that's what I'm saying. That doesn't mean that there's not speeding involved, but that's the average speed. So, we have to look at that, but we also have to look at the cars that are, the number of cars that are exceeding the speed limit. And that's where, like I said, where our police officers need to be a little bit more interactive with this stuff, whether we're using high visibility patrols, or if we, when we get back into doing heavy traffic enforcement, we have to address those areas at our level.
Can I comment on the speed limit? Okay. I just from a little, can everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Just from a little bit of a historical perspective, when I came to the city in 2000, I was told that they had reached out in the earlier days of the city, soon after incorporation, about lowering the speed limit. The state wouldn't do it then. When I was there in 2000, we petitioned the state again on the speed limit to bring it down to 30, because Bell Harbor had 30. They did not approve it then. We did it in 2018. And we got a report from FDOT. They actually mentioned this when they made their presentation in November of 18 at our commission meeting, that, they studied the fatalities at the time. They studied about 58 accidents, 9 of which were with pedestrian either death or injuries. And they still said it was the primary reason was distracted driving, and not the speed. So, they had no basis to reduce it. We certainly could try again. I mean, I don't have any objection to try it again with them. It almost makes me think the reason that Bell Harbor may have, and I don't know this, I haven't discussed or have any, data on this one, but maybe there was a time when Bell Harbor had a serious problem with speeding and fatalities, that for whatever reason, they don't have, as many traffic lights and things as we have here. Maybe coming off of coming off of across Hollover, maybe they were having more problems at one time that justified, based on the state standards, to reduce the speed limit to 30. But I mean, we certainly could try again.
I've lived here in the neighborhood for 50 years. It's always been 30. So I think it's a legacy issue in Bell Harbor. I never remember Bell Harbor being more than 30. Because I remember, I had a motorcycle when I was 15, which is a long time ago, 45 years ago. And I remember going through Bal Harbor and always slowing down to 30. So it's been 30 for as long as I can remember in Bal Harbor. Yeah.
Yeah, 66 Le Mans couldn't go that too fast. Those,
No. Bal Harbor's always been 30. So I think it's a legacy. I think it's a legacy in Bal Harbor, maybe in Surfside too. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So before I go, Dana, did you want to comment before I go? Okay, you're
in my understanding, Old Road just they slowed down from 35 to 30. And while it's true that we have commercial properties on the west of Collins, we are by and large a residential community. We are residential. So I don't think that the argument that we have a lot of cars on the road is necessarily an argument to say, well, we should keep the speed limit high or higher because we got to move those cars. I think the idea is we got to reduce the speed. We got to petition to reduce the speed limit, as Commissioner Lama said, because when you have the speed limit at 35, people tend to go to 40. So I live in one of those hotspot areas where they speed up and so forth. So I don't think it's an effective. It's true, you have to look at some statistics and some data, but the idea that if you set the threshold at 30, then whatever the digression is, it's not going to be the same as establishing at 35. So if our goal in our city is to build a residential community and to enforce that and to protect our residents, our bicyclists, and our pedestrians, it's really strong advocacy for lowering that speed limit. The faster the speed limit is, the more people are going to speed through it. So I feel very, very strongly about that. I think 30 is the right speed limit for the city, and we should do everything in our power. We've raised it before, we should raise it again. We should work towards that goal.
Okay. I'm going to go now. Okay. Dana, what was the DOT's response to your last letter?
I haven't heard back, and because you basically said, well, you sent this letter out, you didn't confer with the city. That's where I said, okay, let's put a resolution and let's have the city manager reach out to FDOT. Yeah. I mean, if you want me to call, I'll be happy to call.
No, but my point is, the point is, this is what should have precluded your last letter, a discussion like this, to where we do something, we don't do something solo or as a cowboy. We do something that we all agree upon. That's a better way to, especially when it comes to outside agencies, because we get, this is the reality of city government for the sake of the public. These outside agencies do not jump every time we snap our fingers. So we get so many shots at these outside agencies. And the fact is, if one of us kind of goes off on our own little, basically march, they're not going to listen. Dana, I have the floor. Dana, I have the floor. Thank you. I'll let you speak. When one of us goes off on our own, they don't listen. Okay. Dana did the same thing with the beaches. She wrote to Carlos Jimenez and said, open those beaches. We're all going to behave. Okay. I don't think she got a response to that one either. But my point is that we have to do something. We have to do things collectively. And the reason why this is a discussion item and not a resolution today is because we all agreed that we wouldn't put resolutions on without having them as a discussion item first. We all agreed to that about 6 months ago. So we could get things like this. Okay. And resolutions, Dana. Okay. And resolutions. Okay. The bottom line is that if you want to get something done, okay, it's a body and we need to agree. And we need to take a collective position if we want to try to take a position, especially with an outside agency. Because what happens is they start getting letters from all of us. It's noise. Okay. Chris calls and advocates and says, hey, my commission's behind this. We had a bunch of different opinions, but we reconciled it. Okay. Because I can tell you that, from my position as mayor, if one person from a condominium calls me and says, I got a big issue, here's what it is. And then another person calls me with an opposing issue. And then I don't listen. because the fact is I'm not getting a collective consensus from that particular body. And this is what's important. This is what's important to work with your staff and work with your colleagues when you want to accomplish something. Okay. So it doesn't always work best for political expediency because, politically we all want to, raise the flag. But the fact is, if we really want to accomplish something, this is how we have to do it. Okay. So with that in mind, so here we are now, right? But we would have had a resolution on the books that wouldn't have gotten proper vetting and given staff proper direction. Okay, so that I believe is wrong, because we're dealing with an outside agency, and if you want to have any effectiveness with the outside agency, you've got to go there with a consensus position, and staff has to have clear direction. That's the bottom line, and that's how it works. Okay, and the fact is, okay. I have the floor, Dana. I didn't interrupt you, Dana. I have the floor. Thank you. Okay, and I have the mute button too, but I'm not going to use it. So the fact is that in this case, a lane closure, okay, is very problematic, because what's going to happen is folks are going to be riding their bicycle. Somebody wants to make a left into Ronan-Katz's shopping center. Okay, they're going to back up the middle lane of Collins, trying to make a right. They're going to make a right into the shopping center, or they're going to make a right into an east side condo. They're going to back up Collins, trying to make a left or a right, and then the bicycle thinks, well, I got an open lane, I can go. Okay, so when you block one lane, you're really blocking two lanes. And then when you block two lanes, you've got one lane that might be moving. Quite frankly, if we're going to block a lane, I'd advocate for blocking the center lane by the median, because that lane you could actually probably block, except for the traffic lights and the curb cuts. But the fact is, as it was pointed out earlier, we have a lot of curb cuts, and we have 18 traffic signals. I know, because after the hurricane, I went to every single traffic signal when we were trying to fix them. So I was out and looked at every single one of them. So the fact is, the devil's in the details of this kind of stuff. In the abstract, closing lanes sounds great. Oh, great, we're going to close lanes and people are going to be able to ride their bikes up and down Collins Avenue. But I completely agree with Jennifer. We've spent a lot of time and a lot of money to try to get folks to use the interior streets. And we have a bridge, over the waterway, and we have a pedestrian walkway over 163rd Street. And, hopefully we're going to get this walkway going through from Publix to the Golden Shores neighborhood. That's really where we want people on their bikes. Now, we can't stop DOT from painting the little bike sign on the street and have people ride on Collins Avenue on their bikes. But frankly, I've never been in favor of it, because it's dangerous. And we were dealt kind of the urban planning that we were dealt. We're not Bal Harbor. We didn't have the setbacks. We didn't have wide sidewalks. Bal Harbor, A1A was shifted to the west, so they have a very deep lot on the ocean. Okay, we were dealt what we were dealt. And so, but the fact is, lane closures on Collins will probably make it more dangerous for a lot of these cyclists than what they do today, because they're going to have a false sense of security that they can kind of go zipping along, but you still have all those curb cuts. And to Chris's point, we can't stop all those curb cuts. The first one that's going to be in here lighting us up will be Ronan-Katz and all the condo owners, because what are we going to do? We're going to block the curb cuts to keep it, to try to mitigate this. So it's really inherent upon us to manage people's expectations on this stuff, because those lane closures would be very problematic. And the point is, we want to get people on the interior streets. That's been our goal all along. And that's in our urban planning and everything else that we've ever done. Lowering the speed limit, I don't care. I mean, the bottom line is we've tried 3 times. We tried as early as 2 years ago. I mean, we can keep trying. I don't care. I mean, honestly, I don't believe that. I agree with Alex that if it's 30, they go 38. And if it's 25, maybe they go 30, 32, whatever. But the fact is, the chief has pointed out, statistically, 35 or 30, I don't know that it's going to change the profile of the fatalities any bit. But one of my favorite lines at my work, when I tell my staff, I always tell them, respond, don't react. Okay. You need to respond to things by looking at data, studying things, and coming up with workable solutions. We got to be very careful reacting to when terrible things happen. I feel terrible for what happened, to to Sholem, the rabbi's son. Actually, his brother, Menachem, was over my house last week. I had Menachem come by. He's a wonderful kid. He started a foundation for his brother. He's a very, very wonderful kid. Actually, it's shalomcorazonvaliente.com. That's their foundation. But Menachem came over last week, and he did a beautiful YouTube video for his brother. And so, as the chief said, every death is tragic. I don't care why it happens, how it happens, whose fault it is, doesn't matter. Okay. But every time this happens, again, I think we have to take it in the context of what we have here and the amount of cars that we have. So I don't care about 30 miles an hour or whatever. I don't believe the FDOT is going to move because we've been at them 3 times with this. And to the chief's point, unfortunately, their standards for changing things are usually a death count. They have a whole hierarchy, decision tree they go through. When you want to get a traffic light, when you want to get, a new turn lane, whatever, they call it warrants. There's a warrant, and you get so many warrants. It's like a ranking system. And I've been through this with them before, and it's very difficult. It's difficult to get it, to get them to approve these types of things. But again, no issue with the speed limit, but we've taken 3 tries at it. So I just want to manage expectations. And again, I want to be careful going at them kind of incessantly, because we have to work with them when we need something that we need that's doable, like our pedestrian bridges or like the walkway we did at City Hall, that type of a thing. So they are another agency, and we don't want to, and I want to be careful with staff. The attitude might be, well, let's just try. But the problem is, every time we throw something at them, then they have to go through staff time and they have to deal with it. And then we start to be looked at more of a, from a more difficult perspective. So again, if the staff and the police department feel taking another whack at lowering the speed limit is warranted, I don't think we're going to get it. I think we've tried too many times, and they have a very clear process in how they judge these things. We're going to have to pay for, getting them the studies for that process. It's just not because we feel in our heart that it could be lower and it would be a good thing. It doesn't work that way. It works, they are data-based decision makers. Okay. I'm not saying it wouldn't be good, Dana, but what I'm saying is that we've tried 3 times. We tried 2 years ago. I mean, it's not, I just think it's, I think it's going to be difficult, but I would, I'm not against trying again. What I'd like for Chris to do is to talk to the FDOT and say, is there a chance in where that we could get this before we pay for studies and go through all the hoops again, because it just, that's what I'd like to know. I think Chris knows them well enough now, and we work with them closely enough to say, okay, what's the criteria? And is there even a chance that we meet that criteria? Because in the past, we've never been able to meet the criteria. So before we spend money on studies and what have you, the lane closures are a non-starter for me. It would be a mess. It would be a mess. And I think the other cities that have looked at it, clearly the data's there that the other cities have looked at it, but even the other cities that have looked at it, it's a lot less intensive area than what we're talking about. We have a lot of intensity on cutting across those lane closures to get in and out of the buildings and out of the retail. So,
well, we do it to developers all the time. We closed the Sunny Isles Boulevard for a year or 2 or whatever.
Of course we do, Dana. But again, we didn't do it. FDOT gave him the approval. I didn't give him the approval. He called me to support the approval, and I said, there's not a chance in hell I'm going to give you that approval. And you can call Joe and ask him. Okay. He called me 3 times to support that approval. I said, there's no way. Chris was in 2 of those meetings. I said, there's no way I'm going to support that approple. And he went to FDOT and he got it on his own. So that's the bottom line.
But he didn't get it
permanently
like he wanted it.
No, he didn't get it permanent. And also, Dana, but it wasn't for people to ride their bikes down the lane while people are still coming in and out of the driveways. It was for staging, for construction, what have you. So it's black and white. But I can tell you, again, the public believe that we're making these lane closures. Not in a million years. I mean, I absolutely told him, you need to stage your work, at night and whatever to mitigate those lane closures. We don't have control over that road. So it's one of those things that, that, but I was never supportive of those lane closures on that. But the fact is, it's not even what we're talking about here, because the lane closure wasn't for somebody to go speeding along 163rd on their bike and somebody pull out of Saint-Tropez and going across that bike lane and then having to make a right, or having to pull across the bike lane to enter their building. So I think that's very problematic on a multitude of levels. So that's my 2 cents on that one. Okay, Dana, you want a quick rebuttal before we close?
I think we do it for FDOT does it for developers. I think that it's easy enough to try something on a trial basis. It wouldn't be too complex. I think the idea is to create pedestrian, bicycle, safer pathways. I don't buy the idea that, well, we have these interior roads on North Bay Road and we have these bicycle pathways and that's going to solve that problem. Look, I ride these city streets. So for me, it was, let's try it out, a couple of days, see how it works. Not too complicated. Miami Beach, they have their own internal traffic engineer. It's being done in other cities. This is not something, this is not pie in the sky. This is not something that's never been implemented. It's being done in other cities. And I think it was just an effort to say, let's try it out and see how we can create better pathways for everyone. In the same spirit, the impetus for the reduction of the speed limit was not because of this recent fatality. It's an overall picture of the number of pedestrian accidents. It's an overall concept of lowering it for the benefit of families, the elderly, and so forth. And it's all about the residential community. This has nothing to do with one specific incident. It's an accumulation of pedestrian accidents and looking at our city as a whole and saying the 30-mile speed limit would serve us very, very well in our city.
Yeah. So I got no issue with the speed limit, but the chief told you 6 fatalities in 3 years, 4 were not speed related. So the notion that
it's just about fatalities. It's not about other accidents and pedestrians.
No, but I'm just saying that all I'm saying is I got no issue with the speed limit, but my point is we've been to that well before. So what I would like the city manager to do, what I would like to direct the city manager before we get too far down the road is to have the conversation with FDOT and to see if we have a chance, because I just don't want to go through a lot of hoops, without it, because we tried, this will be the 4th try in the history of the city. So, because I know we tried when it was me and Norman, when I was here with Norman years ago, and we went through the formal process back then. Yeah, no, we tried. We've tried. The
idea wasn't so crazy, huh? You guys tried too. So.
No. Okay. I didn't say lowering the speed limit was crazy, Dana. I said closing the lanes was crazy. But I said, but lowering the speed limit, we've tried a number of times. No, it goes without saying. But the fact is that each time what we learned was that we don't meet their criteria. But I don't want to spend a bunch of money to figure out that we don't meet their criteria. Just to indulge it. So I would say that as a result of this, I would direct the staff to take a look at it and then come back to us with a report on their conversation with FDOT. I think that's a good start.
I just add, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Vice Mayor. In my conversations with Hallandale, the city manager was very clear. Their experience and his recommendation was don't do it. And I don't know why we wouldn't look at that recommendation. And as Chris said, speaking to Miami Beach, I don't know any city that's done it and been successful and where they're getting a lot of support. So again, it's back to the data, getting back to the information, and it wasn't easy for them. It was a big challenge for them and their staff.
Yeah, I got it. And the fact is, like Miami Beach, Ocean Drive is an isolated street that's got, you can close Ocean Drive, not a big deal. And it's not, it's not the only artery in the city. Collins Avenue, Dana, is not a residential street, no matter how we slice it. We can try to characterize it as something, but it's not a residential street. And frankly, I agree. Walking the sidewalk's not good, but this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to put pedestrian-friendly bridges over. We're trying to get folks to interior spaces, and to Alex's point, we got the land in front of Winston Towers now, 600. We got the land at Town Center Park where we can. We want to widen the sidewalk where we can. We want to try to make it safer. And so, but Alex,
a state statute that I wanted to look at. I'll talk to you.
Okay.
There's a state statute on point, even whether it's residential or business area that I'll point out to you
But can we all agree to ask Chris to have the conversation with the state about the speed limit?
Sure.
Do we all agree? Dana, do we agree on that one?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we
Come
can
on,
agree
Dana.
on this point.
Okay. Okay.
But
So good.
I'm still raising
I hear ya.
the issue. It's a valid issue.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not valid. I'm just saying it's been done 3 times before and we've gotten shot down. And I don't want to spend a lot of money. And I just don't want to spend a lot of money, especially when it was talked about 2 years ago. It's not like it has been on the table recently. You know, it's not like I've been revisited in 10 years. That's all. The only thing I want to be careful of is I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money, you know, and wind up the FDOT, you know, for something that we're not going to have a shot at. That's all. That's all I'm saying. So, because I think I'm not disagreeing with my commissioners that, you know, it could help things. I mean, let me tell you, the biggest complaints I get, bar none, is the time it takes to traverse through the city. So I hear you on the traffic. I'm not saying that I want folks to go fast, because I'm the one that pushed the chief to have the cars in the middle lanes with the lights on all the time, because I felt like it's a deterrent, you know. So we couldn't get the, you know, where FDOT hasn't allowed us just kind of carte blanche to put the speeding signs up, you know, the digital speeding signs up. The one thing we can do, you know, the chief's done a great job with traffic enforcement, is putting those cars in the middle of the street with their lights on. So that's a major deterrent, you know, and that's been going on a couple of years now. So it's been great. And I think it's even been more apparent, you know, in the recent times and you know, with COVID and everything else too. So, okay. So Chris, you've got your marching orders with FDOT. There is no other business to come before the commission. I think this is a good Zoom meeting. I want to thank everybody and
Mayor.
Please. Yes, Mauricio.
I'm sorry, Mayor. We still have the Citizens Forum, and we have 2 comments that came in.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No worries. Okay, so the first comment is from John Desjardins. Address is 250 181st Street, Sunny Isles Boulevard. His comment is, can the beach accesses be taken away by the town? I know that the county owns the beach, but I believe that the town owns the accesses. Seeing the way that the town zoning can be changed makes me think that powerful beachfront property owners such as Aquilina and Desert could exert pressure on the town government to remove the beach accesses. That would be a great loss to the city. I lived in Ball Harbor for 5 years and know what a difference beach accesses make. The senior people in the Life organization believe that they will never be removed for safety reasons. I hope they're right. And a similar comment was also received regarding the beach access by Alexander Zubovsky. His address is 230 174th Street, apartment 503, Sunny Isles Beach. And his comment was, please stop the practice of closing accesses to the beach by locking gates at the Sampson Oceanfront Park. Also, the ordinance that allows the city manager to restrict the accesses to the beach in the city is outrageous, and it has no provision that would say that such decisions shall be temporary and affect only until voting by the city council at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. So to answer your question, I mean, clearly the commission can vote to basically give up a beach access if they wanted to on behalf of the city. I don't think we've ever done it. I think the only thing that we've ever done is maybe combine beach accesses. So for instance, if there's one on the south side of a building and we could shift it to the north side of a building, combine it with another one to make it larger and grander, we've done that in the past, but we've never actually gone net negative a beach access. I think we have 22 beach accesses right now. And frankly, every project that comes online, you know, we make sure that we advocate and we get a beach access. So we've never deleted a beach access, to your point, to the inquirer's question. Regarding the city manager, the fact is these are very unprecedented times. And so the city manager, you know, during these emergency orders over the past 3 months, I know they've been very controversial. My phone has lit up many, many times from people and my email that they're not happy with this, they're not happy with that. But the fact is, unprecedented time. So we delegated a lot of authority to the city manager. He has a lot of authority anyway, quite frankly, but we delegated him extra authority. But nothing was done over the last 3 months that I think any of us disagreed with. So although the manager had, had the authority to do the things he did, and when the beach was closed, we had to close the beach accesses, obviously, because the manager did not close the beach. Let's be clear. The state and county government closed the beach, and then we had to adhere to those executive orders and do the things necessary to secure those beach closures. Chris.
Just a couple of comments on that. I think at this point, we've got all the beach accesses where they are permanent easements as part of the development approval for all the buildings. So as you said, those aren't going anywhere, and that's not going to change, and the ownership of them is never going to change. They're permanent easements with the development approvals. With regard, the situation that this gentleman specifically is talking about is actually an interesting thing, because this is, again, like you said, this has been set totally by the county. This has been pretty stressful on the county too. They put out a lot of regulations, 184-page book. I got to give the county mayor and his staff a lot of credit. I know they had a consulting firm helping them with it, but this is this is too much. One of the things that they did along the way, as much as the language about the beach opening talked about dawn to dusk, the county made a determination. You've got to make that uniform what time that is, and they made the time 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we do have the gate locked. But what the funny part about it is, you can always. We have the gate of our little boardwalk out to the beach does get locked until the staff gets there. We just had an incident where he wrote me an email to me and to Commissioner Goldman. I don't know who else on that, but it was 7:10 and the gate wasn't opened. So I assume he means that because he can't get in. He didn't really say that directly, I don't think, but we had a couple of people short. So we had to move a couple of people around. It took them a few more minutes to get there that morning to open it. But the irony of this is the drive-through access on the south side of the bathrooms is totally open, is totally accessible. So if you're listening tonight, I want to let him know. I was going to text him back, but I waited since I saw Commissioner Goldman's follow-up to us and the staff asking us. I wanted to get to her first before I got to him. He can walk around the building and get out on the beach because we don't, we made a decision to leave that park open longer because that's the main access to the beach.
Good news.
So, yeah, that is good news. But the fact is that we're still in a very peculiar time. We've tried to stay aligned with the county on all these ordinances and these orders because it just is less confusing. So to Chris's point, and by the way, when the county says something, the only thing we're allowed to do is make it worse. We can't make it easier. It's not in our power to make something. If the county says beaches close at 8 o'clock, we can close the beaches at 7, but we can't close them at 9. It doesn't work that way. So this has been the issue. So again, we've all got to bear with each other a little bit during these times. Nobody's trying to be heavy-handed. Nobody's trying to make it any worse than it can be. Okay, it's already pretty bad. And it's certainly the city manager. I mean, we've done everything we could. We've done everything we can to create our amenities in as safe and to basically give our amenities back to the public, our parks, our beaches, whatever, but it's got to be in a safe environment and we've got to follow the rules that are kind of handed down to us. So again, but thank you for writing and thank you for being an advocate, and we go from there. Mauricio, is there anybody else?
Yes. The next comment is from Pavel Stoev. His address is 17145 North Bay Road, Unit 4404. His comment is, in recent weeks, many negative statements and negative proposals were released by various media outlets and public forums, speaking out against police and policing in general. I personally disagree with such statements and would like to extend my support to our local SIB Police Department and thank them for their hard work. We cannot have laws without law enforcement. Laws without law enforcement are just suggestions. In relation to this, I would like to request that active law enforcement of traffic safety is increased along Sunny Isles Beach portion of Collins Avenue.
See, I like this guy, Chief. See, he compliments you and then he has an ask. You know, he's a smart guy.
Way to do it.
I think, I think I've said it in the last meeting. We have a stellar police department, something we can all agree on. The situation in Minneapolis was terrible. Those people should be prosecuted, but it is not a reflection on all law enforcement. And especially it's not a reflection on our law enforcement. So, as everybody knows, I've always said the best outcome out of our incorporation as a city, from my perspective, has always been our police department. And the fact is, and I'll stand by that, and I'll say it as mayor as well. I love all the other departments, but I can tell you, we've got a tremendous police department. So thank you for the comment, to the writer, and I think we're in full agreement. So Mauricio, is that it?
We have someone that raised their hand. Fabiola, your name and address for the record, please.
Hello?
Yes,
hello, we hear you.
Okay, good. Fabiola Stuyvesant, 326 Poinciana Island Drive, Sunny Isles Beach, 33160. I am exactly in line with the last comment. I wanted to thank also the chief and all our police department. I know they do an exceptional job. We are so proud to have them in our city, to have their presence in their school, their presence all over the city is amazing. The enforcement of all the rules, regulations, all the codes, everything that is going on around is so good. And thank you for being here for us. About what you guys were talking before, it's been a big improvement in Collins Avenue about the parking of the boats that they're going to haul over. I remember how it used to be, and right now it has nothing to do how it was in the past. And I really thank the police for working on that. And about the speed limit, it will be amazing if it's possible to lower it. And about the closing of the street, I don't think it's a good idea. But overall, my comment was for the police. Thank you, Chief, and thanks to all your force. And thanks to our city management and to the information in the webpage about how we are following Miami-Dade County guidelines. I think it's very clear. Sometimes people maybe don't get it, but I know you guys are doing the best to open everything for us. Of course, we want the beach open, the playground, the parks, and everything. We want to come back to our normal, but I don't think we are there yet. And thanks for all the enforcement, and also thanks for all the management that you guys doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Muchas gracias. Okay, Mauricio, anybody else?
Yes, the last one is Ella Kalish. Ella, go ahead.
Miss Ella.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank Chief Snyder. That was some great statistical information, and you did really a lot of hard work on that. I really appreciate it. Man, 35 million cars a year go through our city. Now, I walk, and Alex, your suggestion to get the private sector involved in allowing us to widen the sidewalk for walkability on Collins is important. I walk all the time, and I can't count the number of times I've had to let people know to get away from the edge of the sidewalk. Kids, people with baby carriages on their phone. And the more we increase the population through building in the city, we're going to have more pedestrian traffic. Jennifer, your suggestion to divert some of that traffic to North Bay Road and both the auto and the pedestrian over the bridge.
Not the auto.
Pardon me?
Not the auto, Ella. Not the auto. Just the bikes and pedestrian.
Yes, and so I just want it to be understood that I live on that corner where the bridge is, and on North Bay Road and 174th, and we are increasing density in this area, and that needs to be considered when we talk about zoning. But really what I wanted to ask you is, do all of you know, as you're talking, how many people are in this chat room? Can you all see how many people?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yep.
we as the outside participant cannot see how many people are joined in this meeting. And I think it's important because I'd like to see you publish the statistics each time you have a meeting so that we know how many people partook in that. And we can look at that against how many people participate when we have the open meetings where we're in person. And that'll give us a better idea of participation through this medium. Additionally, when you had the city planner on, if we can see that we have a large enough body participating and how many, which is really critical for me as a participant, as a viewer, she, if you remember, had the ability for us to vote on certain things. And it showed in real time, if you voted for something, it just calculated it and you saw where people's preferences lay. And if we knew how many people were involved in that meeting, and then we talked about quasi-judicial judgments, we might be able to give it to us who are involved in that chat, listening to it, to see what our opinion is of it. But we need to know how many people are in that meeting. So if there's 10 and 10 vote for it, that's really not a collective consensus, as Mr. Mayor said, was very, very important when making decisions. So
Right. So Ella, right now there's 36, and at the height of the meeting it was about 48. I don't know. I'm not sure if there was more than 48, but I saw 48 at one point, and I don't watch it. I don't monitor it the whole time, but right now there's 36 participants.
Okay, so the point is I don't want to rely on you to have to report that. I'd like to see, and you have that available on Zoom because I do it in other business forums,
Sure.
and you know how many people enter that chat room. And that's important to me to know that I'm not the lone voice or that there's a siloed group that's making that decision. And so could you please maybe either include it in a visual so that I can see and everybody that's involved can see how many people are in this forum, or report?
Let's say, Ella, I'll work with the clerk to see if we can get a little bit more, just a little bit more information, because I'm not, because you use Zoom in different ways. Zoom is organized differently for different types of meetings.
Someone allows me to do it, just FYI.
I know. No, I'm very familiar.
34 people and 48 people still fall below the threshold of what we usually see at our meetings when we're in person.
I don't know.
No, not really. Depends on the issue. I mean, you always go for the hot issues. I can tell you 90% of the meetings that you're not there, we're lucky to have 3 people.
Okay.
Literally outside of the staff.
Okay, that's fair
just so
enough,
you know.
but I'd like to see the number, but I want to really thank Mr. Snyder for all that information. It's really important. And
Great.
Thank you all. It was a great meeting.
Thanks, Ella. Well, it certainly didn't. I don't think Zoom precluded us from having a robust meeting because it's 9:00. So, okay, Mauricio. Anybody else?
We have one last person, Joseph family.
Okay, Joseph. We got him?
Yeah, his mic is unmuted.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi. Just regarding the one of the situations that we have here is closing the lanes. What I'm concerned with is, as you know, let's call it the snowbirds. They come and they have these huge trucks transporting 10, 12, 20 cars. And let's not forget, I know I see this, at least twice a week, where they take up a lane and that whole lane is closed down. Besides the buses, which of course we need. And so I don't know how we could close another lane down. I understand your compassion with it, Dane. I'm just saying logically I live in Golden Shores, so I'm on the street all the time. So you have that one lane taken up quite a bit. I'm sure you'll all attest to that, driving down Collins Avenue. And now, if it's busy and there's another transport truck, they come down where we live in Golden Shores, excuse me. I actually have I have so many pictures, it's ridiculous. This took up, actually, I've never seen one so large. It was closed. I guess it had all the Ferraris and the Corniches, what have you. And everybody, my concern is that I wish it would be a little tougher and maybe give out tickets if possible, because I know at least the police that checks out our area, they're wonderful. You know, there's one in particular, he drives with his windows down. He knows everybody's names, their dogs' names. But I just wish that there were more like him. And if we gave tickets out, maybe that would stop the craziness down Collins, because there is drag racing, which I have pictures to prove that. I believe Mr. Snyder, we had spoken about that previously, if you recall, that they came to our area to drag race. And it's terrible to say, but the joke amongst the kids are, whatever you want to do, you can get away with murder, come to Golden Shores, you'll never get in trouble. And Lord knows I have the pictures to show that. But my concern is, if we're closing down lanes, everyone is going to be coming to our area, which they have already, being with the beaches closed. It's been like Disney here. I mean, for anybody that's, around Golden Shores, they have to attest to the fact that everyone in the high rises have been in our area, masks, gloves. They're not wearing, they're just not being safe. They're not staying 6 feet apart. And what's kind of baffling is all the construction workers, we did make a complaint about that. They were not wearing masks or gloves. And when everything was, locked down, there was just a sea of thousands of construction workers using our area to be picked up to and from their job. And then when they got off work without masks, without anything, they were living in Publix and Milam's, and a lot of them hung out in Navarro. So it just didn't make any sense that we're all so concerned, which I'm glad we are. But why, for whatever reason, were we the guinea pigs for that? And yet all the small mom and pop restaurants, they're closed down. They can't feed their families. And every construction worker was just, I'm talking for the high rises. Is it fair to say there's thousands of them? No? Anybody? No?
Thousands what? Workers?
No, yeah, and hundreds of workers. Okay. So, yeah, hundreds of workers. And I think that, I think in the very beginning, you're right. It was ugly quick. And then I think we cited them on a very aggressive basis, and it cleaned up. So I don't disagree with you. In the very beginning, it was not, that it wasn't, they were not, they just didn't adhere to any rules. And so, but we got on them pretty quickly, to Chris's credit, and our building department's credit. And I think it got cleaned up in very short order. It's probably about a 2 or 3 week period in the very beginning when it was bad.
And we were glad and we're thankful for that. But it did take a few months. They actually stopped the trucks transporting them to and from. Where now, that's another reason about the lane, Dana. Now, thankfully, I call him Quantico, he took care of the fact that he was kind enough to let me know that finally, what we've been begging for months, that the bus can no longer stay in our area, that the bus picked up on Collins. So there's so many lane closures for so many reasons. To slow it down and close another lane, I just think we won't be able to get from point A to point B. And also my major concern is everyone is using our residential area. They're walking their dogs. It's just literally like Disney here. We were complaining about that. It's just, and we also have an issue, as everyone knows, with the, the B&Bs. What is it, 2 or 3 a year are permitted?
4.
Yeah, I think it's 4 a year in residential. Joey.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's 4 a year.
Right now, I hope somebody will agree with me there that we have 5-6 people going through one home in a month, and it's really crazy here, and we're just so concerned that whatever you do to Collins we're going to be affected, and we are affected in Golden Shores. There's just no way around that. And plus, what you were saying, and I thank you for the email regarding the traffic to Hallover when they opened up Hallover. Well, I understand now there's a possibility that Deezer wants a marina here. And if you think there's traffic from Hallover, if that marina is allowed, we're not going to, talking about closing a lane, the cars with the boats and the trailers. This is, and people are on the road first thing in the morning. I mean, they're on their boats 7 days a week, whether they're coming in on the water, it's going to be lined up with, all the,
to be clear, there won't be a boat ramp. Okay. We're not putting in a boat ramp in the city. You're talking about the boat ramps at Oliver.
Yeah, but it's a full service, Bud. We were told that it's a full service. Full service.
Yeah, frankly, you know more than we do because nothing's been proposed and nothing's come to the city. So I think what you're hearing, is basically. I mean, I haven't seen a thing, to be honest with you. But I know one thing's for sure: we wouldn't approve a boat ramp by Golden Shores. So no one's going to come with boats and trailers and what have you. So.
Right, but even the coming in via Collins is going to be difficult. Also, one of the new homes under construction, they had to get Diesel to sign off, and it was just on the dock. And it was, we were abused years ago, and it was so abusive. You can't even, he said he was literally tortured, and the guy's doing the right job. And the house is spectacular. Yeah. So I'm just concerned.
It's unfortunate, but he owns the Bay Bottom. When they did the Publix deal, Publix had purchased the Bay Bottom, and Desert actually owns the Bay Bottom, and so it's a land right issue. I can't, we can't take away his Bay Bottom and then step in, but that's what happened there. So it's unfortunate. So, but okay, what else you got?
No, I'm concerned about, I mean, it's great. I know, Alex, you're with, Winston Towers and the other lady that speaks, she's amazing. We just have a little area, and we're so abused over here with the drag racing. There's hundreds of people nonstop.
Got it. Okay.
What are we doing? Is anybody looking to help us here? And I heard you say about a walkover. What was that? What was that? A cut through?
No, we're saying. Yeah, eventually we're going to have a pedestrian walkway between North Bay Road and Golden Shores. Not a driveway, but a pedestrian walkway. Across the back of the Publix property. That's our goal. So that way the city.
But Desert Way isn't a safe, is it, Bud? Won't that affect the children who are using that with all the drag racing? Because
it'll keep the children off of Collins. Jody, let's this is a forum for an issue, but let's that's the plan at this time, but it's not. But nothing's been in for approval yet. But what we believe is when that property eventually gets redeveloped, we're going to have a public walkway through there, so kids can go from Golden Shores to go to school and go back without having to walk along Collins Avenue. That's the goal.
Got it. But just because we live right there, Deezer is not a safe road. It's not safe. All Deezer, but also just heads up. I don't know.
I understand
what's happening. That which I'm just baffled at the fact that the cars are lined up at 5:30 in the morning for his employee, and it's gated. I said, "Well, can he open the gate earlier?" And they said, I thought it starts at 7:30, but my daughter's going to a school now, and I get her at the bus at 5:30. I'm talking as quickly as I can, but I know these are things you're not aware of. We should.
No, but what I would say is, I think you should come in and talk to the manager and the chief. I think you should come and sit down, and if you've got a list of issues, come in and sit down and bring. We've done this before, so bring the list, and we'll address. We will address what can be addressed. There's no doubt.
And on this note, we have homeless people because my neighbor, not me, called. There was somebody running along our backyards on North Bay Road on the water. On 5 backyards, and the police were called, and the police told my neighbor that, sorry, we can't do anything. It's not our property. It's private property. Deezer owns it, and there's nothing we can do. And my neighbors, they were all flipped out. They're camping out. They're actually shocked and scared. But again, this is what happens where we live, because we need to get a little tougher, and there's no, they have no I'm not understanding. How can they get away with living? I love the homeless. I feel sorry for them. I'm heartbroken, but I did not know that they're permitted to have couches and camp and fish back there. And then when they're coming on our property, my little girl is here with her friends.
Okay. Again, Jody, bring it to the chief and the manager. Honestly,
Have you heard that, Chief Snyder? Just a quick question, sir.
But no, honestly, you got 3 minutes. We've been at it for about 10. So like, let's, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's pretty late. So what I would suggest is, again, come in, you and Jerry come in. I hear Jerry in the background. So I know, I know you're getting, you both are getting your issues out tonight. You guys come in.
I hope it's something you guys didn't know. If you know, I apologize, and I'm just.
It's okay. It's okay. No, I'm just saying though, but come in, just make an appointment and come in and chat with them and go through the list. And then the chief and the manager, he will tell you what he can and can't do. And then if there was a specific complaint that was filed, he'll address it and he'll take it head on. I promise.
May I say something?
Yeah, Larissa.
Thank you. Jody, thanks for calling in. I definitely agree with the mayor that this warrants a meeting, and I'd be happy to facilitate that. Much of what you are talking about is actually being worked on, but this isn't the forum for it probably. So you'll be happy to know a lot of this is being resolved as we speak. So I'll be happy to get in touch with you afterwards to set up the meeting whenever you want.
Yeah, because we've been talking about this for 5 years. That's why I'm just a little concerned that.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe.
Okay. Thank you, Jody. Thank you. You too. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Okay. Mauricio, anyone else?
One more person. Last one.
Okay.
Anna, go ahead.
Who is it? Anna,
your name and address, please.
Good evening. This is Anna 17105 North Bay Road, B209. Thank you so much for this. These Zoom meetings are wonderful. I've been in quarantine now for almost 80 days. But a couple days ago, I went out and I have a wonderful surprise. I want to thank you for highlighting the crossing of the street next to Puerto Velayo, the bridge on the Avila South Cross. I've seen beautiful lightning. So for me, a walker, I appreciate it. I've seen the city is doing a lot. And it was refreshing. I walked a little bit with my daughter all the way around, and just grateful to see that even though things are hard during the pandemic and these times, you are working hard to make sure we have something better walk, and it's hard, but people need to understand that it's not easy, and we have just to support our commissioners and vice mayors and police department, and just a little positivity. There's a lot of wonderful things going on in our country, so thank you and good night.
Very well said, Anna. And an excellent note to end on, a little positivity. So thank you very much. And thank you for the compliments and the kind words. And believe me, you can thank your staff too, because they do all the work, but that crosswalk is an important component of that neighborhood. There's no doubt. Okay, Mauricio, anyone else?
We're done, Mayor.
That's it. Okay, we better hurry up before somebody raises their hand. I'm only kidding, Ella. I'm only kidding. So okay. Thank you very much, everyone. And again, stay safe, stay healthy. Please, 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 follow CDC guidelines. Wash your hands, social distance, wear a mask, don't touch your face. I mean, I can go on and on. We're seeing a resurgence of these cases, and so please be careful. That's the one thing I ask. And again, I want to fill out the census. That's right. I did the census. We've had a very low participation rate in the census, so we've been getting scolded by the federal government. And the census is important because it does determine what kind of federal agency money comes back to the city. So please fill out the census. If you haven't already, it's very easy. You do it online. It takes about 10 minutes. It's very simple. And the questions are not that challenging. I want to thank the staff, thank everybody on the commission. And until next time, are we having a meeting in August this year? Chris? Mauricio? Somebody?
Currently, Mayor, the resolution states that there's no meeting in August. No meeting in August. Okay, good. Because I'm going on vacation, hopefully. So I'm gonna try to take some time off. Okay, thanks everyone. God bless everyone. Take care. All right, meeting adjourned. Bye.